One more time, Calm.
Testing, testing. One, two, three.
Perfect. I think we're great on everybody's audio levels. That seems pretty nice. Is everybody good to go? You ready, Shalka? Ready, Teddy?
Prepare. Yeah,
What are we
yeah. I
doing?
think I'm good.
Yeah, what are we doing? Indeed. Why are we here? Yeah? Huh? Okay. Well, I'm about to get into it. Here we are, y'all. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, all you beautiful listeners. And welcome to the Love Always Wins podcast, show where we explore the fun of gaming, the support and communities built around it, and content we make about it. I'm your host, Shiogorn, joined today by the Law CEO and best non advisor on the market. Hey, Teddy, how are you doing tonight?
Prepares. We all right, man. We got a good one today.
I'm very excited. We've also got our wizard behind the curtain himself. How are you tonight, Shauka Kantan?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, my guy. Appreciate you. And finally, now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce our guest to you all this evening. He's a bit of a forest explorer, he's a gaming father, and a breaker of Noida. Thank you all for coming here to see Calm Little Buddy. How are you tonight, Calm?
Hey, I'm doing well. How's everybody doing?
Oh, we're doing
Good.
absolutely wonderfully.
Oh yeah.
Now, while some of you at home or here might see this as kind of an ominous omen, I am super excited that this is episode 13. Yeah, lucky number 13 is how I see it in my book. I'm so stoked about this. And I think that just having significance on that number, regardless of how people view it, is going to be a really good theme that we see in today. Not necessarily on 13, but today is the day that a significant number would come up. So we're going to get into that. Some of the things we're going to be talking about tonight for sure is talking about this balance between the father, family, content making lifestyle, the recent growth boom that Calm Little Buddy has experienced and why, especially on their YouTube. So we'll get into that a little bit. And a little bit later on, we're going to talk some about AI and the impacts that that has on content creation. So, with all that uh, kind of being laid out, we really like to start this off with one initial question, and I will hand that off to you, Teddy. You want to take the wheel?
Yes, yes. So, we want to know, how did you get your name, Calm Little Buddy, and about how long have you been creating content, whether it started on Twitch or even anything before that?
Oh, okay. Well, geez, it's been a while since I've had the name CalmLittleBuddy. Probably going back to 2007, I think, somewhere around that area. I always before like going way back to like the mid 90s, I had the name Hex 723 or Hex 2323. So I was into a lot of the online games, MMOs, MMORPGs. I was playing an MMORPG called Lord of the Rings Online, and this new one started coming out called Guild Wars 2. Now, back then, this is the 2000s, and I have no idea why. When a new game would come out, all the people that wanted to play the new game would come into the old games forums and start messing with people. Your game's dead. Your game's dead. This game's coming out. Guild Wars 2 gonna take your game. Nobody's gonna be playing your game. Your game's dead. So they would come into the forums, and um I was a bit of a troll. So I would kind of troll the people back, right? And it got to the point where I said, well, this is fun and all, but why don't I sign up for their beta? And then I'll go troll them in their forum because you couldn't get into their forum without trolling them, right? So I joined the Guild Wars 2 beta, started playing the game a little bit, started trolling the forum, and I was going at them pretty hard. And so I got banned. And the last thing the moderator said to me was, "Come back when you're calm, little buddy." And so I said, "Hmm." So I made a new account called Calm Little Buddy, and I came back. And as soon as that mod posted something, I said, "Hey, I heard you missed me. I'm back." And he's like, "Who's this?" I said, "That's Hex 2323." He's like, "I'm just gonna ban you." I said, "No, no, no. You said come back when I'm calm, little buddy," and I did. And he and I actually became good friends after that. And turns out Guild Wars 2 was right. Lord of the Rings Online died. right after that. And I joined Guild Wars 2. I joined Guild Wars 2, had a lot of fun. The irony of it was I was far from anybody's buddy. I was far from calm, and I was definitely not little. Um, I I've not shrunk, but I definitely become more calm, and I've become like more of a buddy to people. I've grown up a lot since then. I mean, it's it's almost close to 20 years since then. So, but yeah,
Nice.
that's how I got the name. And back then there wasn't a lot of talk of branding. I've always done somewhat of content creation, going back to going back to what were those public access cable. Like when I was in
Mhm.
college in the 90s, I know that dates me, but we were doing public access shows. I was doing videos. I was doing what they call inside marketing for
Uh-huh.
companies. They would hire me to do videos specifically only to be seen by their company, like parody videos, like making fun of the company just
Oh
for
shit,
like
no
fun that
way.
they would show at their rallies and stuff.
Hmm.
So I've been making content for a while and then did a little bit on YouTube for a bit under a couple different names, most of which I won't reveal because some of the content was back then, YouTube was the Wild West. So like
Very
some of the
true.
stuff we did on there, like none of it would have like gotten us arrested. Well, no,
Of-
actually, now I think about it, a couple of things might have gotten us arrested, but
Allegedly,
we we used to
allegedly.
make a lot of content,
Yeah,
and then
allegedly.
I got sucked into online games a lot, so that
For sure.
took me out of that. And then of course a lot of the big money started to crash in like around the 2007 2008, right around that. So the video business went under. I didn't really have much to do with the videos anymore, so I said, forget it. I'm just gonna take some time off. I gotten a new job in IT, and it took a little while, and then I ended up how did I find Twitch. um I was going to I was thinking I was looking for, oh yeah, Magic the Gathering online. Yes, Pat, I can see you, buddy. That's my boy. Aren't you supposed to be in bed, kid? I want to ask you something. All right. What do you want to ask? I'm reading her book. Yes, I know. That's all right. She's gonna get book sick. Yeah, she's gonna get book sick. She'll be fine. Okay, go back to bed, buddy. Me. Okay. He's supposed to be in bed.
Oh, you're
Totally.
fine.
Vacation though, so he can stay up.
Yo, I
But I was
remember
playing
those
Magic.
times.
Yeah, Magic the Gathering online, and
Uh-huh.
I was like, I was watching a lot of stuff on YouTube because I wanted to actually, play a lot in tournaments because I played in tournaments back in the day, and I was playing paper. Um, and so I was like looking for, I was like, well, YouTube's great, but it's like I ran out of stuff to watch, and so I was like, well, where can I watch like? And then they were having a tournament, and they're like, oh, watch the broadcast live on Twitch. So I watched the broadcast
Oh.
live on Twitch, and then I found out there wasn't a lot of content for that back then either. So I was bored one night and I'm like, oh, wait, hey, you can watch other games on this too. It's like, oh, Fallout 4, that's coming out. Let me watch that. And then before I know it, I'm looking at it, I'm going, I could do that. I could do that. And I had all the equipment, from the video days back then. I
Uh-huh.
mean, I had, pretty good setup already. I had microphones, I had the cameras, webcams. So I said, yeah, I'll give it a try. So started in 2016 on Twitch. Actually, no, 2015 on Twitch. Did pretty well. Started. Twitch was different back then too. It's like you could go on and stream anything. You could get like 10, 15 people if you just were kind of consistent. So it was pretty
Mhm.
cool. Like my first couple weeks I did it, I had people coming in and like, hey, I'll donate money if you play Dead by Daylight. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll play it. And then Pat was born and Twitch was gone,
For
and
sure.
I didn't come back until 2018, 2019 when he was a little bit older. But yeah,
Okay.
and then since then,
So how long was the
it was
first
around.
when did you
First
join?
was like maybe less than a year. I streamed for, and I was just kind of streaming like random stuff. Like I found the other day, I found a VOD that. And I don't know if it's a VOD because I don't even think they did VODs back then. But somehow
Mhm.
I had a recording of the very first stream I did, which is
Oh
I
shit.
tried to stream RimWorld and I hadn't even played it yet, and it was like the first stream I'd ever done. So like the whole
Oh
thing was
no.
me sitting there in a dark room. You could barely see my face. I got this like weird fisherman hat on and sunglasses, and I'm like kind of like cowered down like this. And you'd see me, I'm not talking at all, and I'm like watching like, oh man, this is so cringe. And then all of a sudden, you'd be like, hey, are you still here? Are you still here? Hey, hi there. Yeah, I see you put in the chat. Yeah, are you still here? I think he left. And then you see me go back to like,
Oh no! Oh
It was
no!
funny though, yeah, because you think it's easy when you watch these people do it. You know, you
Oh
think
yeah.
it's super easy. It's like, and it's like I've done something before. And I looked at it. I said, why was I like that? It's like, man, it was like I'd never been in front of a camera. But the second time around was a lot better because I, kind of got my feet wet before. So I came back in
Sure.
and started streaming Minecraft, and that was my big thing for about a year and a half was hardcore Minecraft, and
Sure.
built up. I still have some, maybe like 4 or 5 people that come in on a nightly basis that are back from that time. So
That's
that
dope.
was a fun time. And then of course we hit the 2020 boom, and Twitch went from being a very scary, weird place of a bunch of just gamers to like everybody was like on
Just
Twitch.
at
Oh,
home
I'm
chilling.
going to
What do I
Twitch. It's like
do?
these people. Yeah, it's just what do I do now? Well, I'm going to come on Twitch. I'm going to stream on Twitch. I'm going to join.
Yep.
I'm going to join Discord. So it's been kind of a wild ride. But like I told everybody then, it was one of those like, you ever see the movies where the army recruiters always like, look at the person next to you and look at the other person next to you. One of those people will not be here when you complete your training. And I was telling people that. I was like, ain't more than half these people going to be here in a year, guys. I said,
No,
this
for
Yeah.
real.
is fun. This is fun, but this is not what it's like. I said, wait. And I always told them, I had a guy that I used to watch play Minecraft, a guy called Button, really good streamer,
Mhm.
good, pretty big streamer too. And he used to tell me all the time, he'd say, Calm, watch out for September. I said, well, what are you talking about? He's like, when you're streaming, he's like, watch out for September. He's like, because in September, everybody leaves. He's like, all your streaming friends will leave and half your viewers are going to leave.
Mhm.
I was like, what? I was like, that can't be real. But every September, like clockwork, that hits and I get depressed, and I hear that little voice in the back of my head going, yeah, they're all going to leave. But that's kind of what 2020 was like the big boom. And I was like
Sure.
waiting for that contraction, and ever since then, it's been kind of trying to build back up from that because a lot of people got their hopes up, you know,
Yeah, for
they
sure.
really got their hopes up. They thought they were big. And
Right.
then they found out when it contracted, it was like, no, you're lucky if you get 2-3 viewers a night. I would tell people, I said, that's 2 or 3 people that chose to come see you out of whatever else they could be doing. They
Exactly.
chose to come see you. Do you understand what that
Exactly.
means?
Yeah, that's
Like,
still
think of all the
huge.
things you want to do in a night, and now this person's coming to hang out with you every damn night. And
That's pretty fire.
people
It's so
don't
good.
they don't see it like that, or they don't see. Like I tell people, scheduling is always a big thing. It's like, and I've been so bad about scheduling last year. I tell them, no,
It
schedule
become like
your
routine.
stuff. Schedule your stuff. People want to know when you're there, and when you're supposed to be there, they want you to be there, and if you're not, it's not that they take it personal, but they'll find something else to do.
Yep.
And that's what they're going to do the next time you're on because
Yep.
they don't know if you're going to be there or not, so it's just, yeah, it's been a fun ride. And,
For sure.
I think I'll always be creating content in some way or another. Like now we're just starting to get into YouTube again, which is a whole nother animal in and of itself.
Whole beast.
Let's talk about that one too.
Yeah, YouTube's wild.
Mhm.
YouTube is wild. Anyway, I'm just kind of like rambling on, so I'm gonna let
Oh
you
no,
guys
you're
ask some
great.
questions.
No,
Direct me.
this is
Oh,
why
this is
like
perfect.
those
You've
2
you've
questions open the gates.
Yep.
Oh
mentioned
yeah, no, I'm like,
many things there that I
I
immediately
was gonna
really
say,
want to go to.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. If you don't got questions, I will literally ramble for the entire
Oh,
hour without
trust.
stopping. So
Oh, I got you. I got you.
I
So,
know.
you know what I mean. So cut me
Mhm.
off every once in a while.
oh, you're fine. No, if you're going, I'll let you keep going.
For
But when
sure.
the
Yeah.
moments dwindle, then I'll come in with the
All
next thing. Don't you worry about that. Now,
right. Well, I'll
Shalka, you
let you.
sounded
Yeah.
like you might have had something for a second.
I did. I have a couple things.
Yep.
Like
Mhm.
we touched on MMOs. I know
Yep.
at one point I was talking about an MMO, and I know that Com kind of perked up when he heard it, and then we never really talked about it again. And I kind of wanted to know a little bit about like your experience. You remember an old MMO called Dark Age of Camelot?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. DAOC. It's like they've never managed to replicate what that game had.
Yep.
And for those of you who don't know, it was I don't know how to describe. It was PvP, but it was like realm based, right? I guess
Yeah, it
you'd
was
say
realm versus realm versus realm.
realm versus
Oh
realm
shit.
PvP.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And that's what hooked me in Guild Wars 2, by the way. It was the world
Right.
versus world. but they did world versus world versus world, and it was very structured, and it was very like this week these three worlds face off, these three worlds face up. Whereas Dark Ages of Camelot sometimes was just like pure chaos. It was but it was great. They did it in such a way. It was so balanced. Um, it was fun. It was like, it was the first.
That's crazy.
And I hated PvP. Like I legit hated PvP. It's like I never want to like face off against another player because like my reflexes aren't great. My eyesight's not great, and it's like quite frankly, I don't have the time to be bothered to get good at PvP. You know what I mean?
All the macros
But
and whatnot. Like,
yeah, Dark Ages of Camelot though, like you could go in and you could help, even if you weren't that great. If you were a body and you could do something good, like you had a spot, and you could get into, I don't know, I don't remember if it was called guilds or clans or whatever, but you could get in somewhere and they'd be like, yeah, we'll fit you in. That was a fun game, and nobody's ever managed to make it feel like that. Guild Wars 2 got close, but like I said, it was very. It wasn't like
had like a structure to it, like set up matches almost.
And it ended. You know what I mean? It's like you fought against 2 servers for a week and it was done. And then it was on to the next. And they had rankings and stuff, but Dark Ages of Camelot was like ongoing. It's like
it's just like
it was
crazy.
It was like a story almost. Like you almost felt like there was a story to it. I didn't play it as much.
That. You just grab all the homies and be like, "Yo, we're going to this realm right here, and we're gonna make it the best realm ever, bro."
Yeah,
and that's what it was.
People did because people like eventually. So the crazy part about Dark Age of Camelot 2 is like realm rank was huge. So like when you got kills and stuff like that, and you kept accumulating kills and accumulating XP and stuff like that, you would get these realm ranks, which you could use to unlock abilities for like more crit damage against people, better damage outright, But you got to a certain realm rank, and like because each realm had like if you clicked on somebody, it was like Elk Knight, You're like, okay, I know this person's realm rank 6. You got to like I think what is it 11? It stopped saying that. It just said your name.
That's so you already knew. So you already knew this guy.
So then people would be like, "Yo, Eddie's out here, running around this ruins or whatever. He's out here. He's killed 3 people already. Somebody come gank him." And you'll see that pop up in like the realm chat and stuff.
Yeah,
people put bounties out on people's heads and shit like.
Put your name up in lights.
Yeah.
There was no official bounty system. It was like, basically, and it was funny too because you do something crazy and somebody like, would somebody go just get this guy, get him out of here?
That's sort of like like you can see that in World of Warcraft at times. Even when people will be training like little accounts, they're just like, all right, I just gotta swap real quick and come with my bro guy over here.
Go take care of business.
But that's not realm. That's just like faction. Like that's insane.
And World of Warcraft, like it felt like kind of part of the game. But in Dark Ages of Camelot, that was the game.
That was endgame. Endgame was PvP.
That was the game. That was like you didn't play that
just to
you
get
didn't
to
play
that
game just to like, and I played it when I started just because I was like, oh yeah, everybody recommends it. And I'm like, yeah, Camelot, that's cool. King Arthur, stuff like that. And and I was like, oh, I'm never gonna get into that like end game stuff. I just kind of want to sit here by myself. But then you'd hear the stories and it'd be like, all right, yeah, I gotta go see what's going on. And then you'd watch it like, oh, okay, yeah, try something like that. It's a lot of fun.
That's fucking
people
dope.
would just do dungeons just for gear for PvP.
Yeah, and that was the thing. There's and they were one of the first that had a system, that had a rank system that specifically gave you PvP abilities just for like the realm versus realm stuff. Guild Wars 2 implemented that, kind of copying them, which was good that they did, because you take your character, go play your your PvE stuff, you wouldn't have all that stuff, but you take yourself into the realm versus realm or world versus world. Now suddenly you went from being like, I got a good character build here, and then you go in there and you'd be like devastating. I still have people that from, and not so much from Dark Ages of Camelot. I came into that late, and it kind of started to fall apart towards the end. But with Guild Wars 2, I still have people that come into my chat that are like, hey, you're the CalmLittleBuddy that used to do World v. Worlds in Guild Wars 2. I was like, that's me. Like, do you remember me? I was like, what was your name? And they're like, oh yeah. Because we would do like, they had like the big, guilds in the servers themselves. And like I tended to freelance, but they all knew who I was. And like all these other freelance guys, we would team up and we would just like show up randomly places and just like do disturbing stuff and like leave. And so like every once in a while I'll still get people like, oh, do you remember the time that we went in there and like everybody's in front of that gate? You and me, we went and we cleared like 50 people out and they didn't know what the hell happened. It's like, yeah. But yeah,
That's fucking
Twitch is kind
official.
of taken the place. Yeah, Twitch is kind of taken the place of the MMO fix for me
Love
because
it.
I've always wanted what Twitch is to me really, besides like interacting with people and meeting new people,
Mhm.
is a way to play single player games the way that we used to play when we were kids to get everybody on the couch and one
Sure.
person's playing and everybody else
Hot
is
seat.
being
For
an
sure.
ass. It's like just basically like coming at you, like tell you, oh, do this, yeah, try this. And then people is like, oh, don't backseat. Don't backseat. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's like the whole couch meta was backseating.
For
It's
sure.
like your friends came over to backseat. You needed the backseat. So it's
I
like,
love that.
I've always looked at Twitch as like two reasons that I do Twitch is one is because like I want people on the couch with me when I'm playing. And second is
Mhm.
because I talk to myself when I game alone, not on Twitch. And my wife kind of is like, who are you talking to? So if I'm on Twitch, I'm like, oh, I'm streaming.
Talking in the
I'm
chat. What do you
streaming.
mean?
I'm streaming. I'm talking. There's nobody in my chat. I'm like, oh, I'm just talking. I was the other night. She got up. She's like, what was all that? What was that voice? She's like, was Patrick in the room with you when you were streaming it? I'm like, no. She's like, what was that voice? And I was like, oh yeah, I was doing. And there was nobody in my chat. I was just making some crazy voice for no reason. And so, like, if you're making a crazy voice at 2 a.m., you wake your wife up. It's good to have an excuse.
It's
For
Switch, I
real.
promise.
For
Yeah.
real. I love it,
That's
man.
incredible. Well, there is a lot of things mentioned right there, right away that I want to kind of talk about. So, Guild Wars 2. First off,
Mhm.
actually, let's talk about Dark Ages of Camelot again. I also
Yep.
feel like on this same line, even though it's a different genre of game, it holds a similar place in people's mind, and that'd be Diablo 2. So Diablo 2 and Dark
Oh
Age of
yeah.
Camelot were both extremely well-made PvP games where you could go
Yeah.
and grind in a PvE setting and then come and PvP in a way that was really good,
Yep.
really good and super competitive. And that has largely been lost in these types of games for almost a decade, if not more now, right? So Guild
Yeah.
Wars 2 came out and they tried to implement a lot of these things. Guild Wars 2 ran into a lot of problems, primarily, in my opinion. They're really itchy ban trigger fingers. Like they banned everybody for everything constantly,
Yes.
constantly.
Yes,
They
they
would
did.
ban people for things that they had never even done because they talked to somebody who did some shit. Like seriously, I'm not kidding y'all. So people were getting their accounts banned left, right, and center all the time. And this was, I think, a big pushback to cheating at that time, to duping at that time, to trying to like strong arm anybody who was trying to mess up their servers and let people know don't do that. But instead, what they
Yeah.
did is killed over half of their user base and screwed over their game.
Yeah,
Surprise,
Yeah.
surprise, right?
Dark Age of Camelot was pretty well known. There was people all the time that were running Radar, which was
Right.
a program people
Yeah.
ran to
Yeah.
pull out stealthers.
Exactly. So this
But if,
concept, right? Go ahead, Calm.
no, I was just gonna say, but if you ban those people or people that talk to those people, the other people who aren't doing it leave too
Mhm.
because it's not fun anymore because
That's
there's nobody
right.
there.
That's
There's
right.
nobody there. It's like, hello,
100%.
where's everybody? Like a couple, like you said, a couple people that I played with a lot got banned, and they they probably deserved it, but maybe not like a total ban, but maybe like they'd take a seat, let them back in. But like, it's like, what am I going to play? It's like I don't feel like those were two people that I really enjoyed running with. Yeah,
Mhm.
did
Yep.
they do something stupid? Of course they did, but it's a video game. It's not the Olympics. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not professional sports. Give it a
No,
rest.
they
Let
had
people
a
have fun.
they had a real heavy ban hammer. And I
Yeah, they
think
did.
that was kind of I really do think that that was the biggest thing that kind of brought them down.
Sure.
Yeah,
Um
they really wanted their world to be their signature thing, and the funny thing is the bands weren't even for stuff dealing with that because it was
at
all
all. It was so it
yeah,
was handled very backwards. This
yeah,
is
it
a
was
common
really weird.
problem.
Yeah,
So fascinatingly enough, this will be a little teaser, okay? Just a little teaser to like later on in the conversation. But fascinatingly, that exact issue right there that they were facing now has a really wonderful new way to address and deal with it, and I can't wait to
Mhm.
discuss some of these interesting ways that devs and other hosts of games are coming out with preventing people from being able to cheat, whether that be on a server base or in tournaments or what have you. Real interesting shit there. Outside of that, some other things that you kind of glossed over that I really want to know more about. All right, well, you had a kid, obviously. His name is Pat, it seems, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Somewhere around the 2015, 2016 mark. Is that when this happened?
2016, yeah. Yeah, June
2016.
22nd, 2016. So,
Wonderful. So
and I don't
he's
use any of his information as my password stuff, so I can say it. So,
Bet. So we're not gonna get anything there. I got you. So having a kid kind of right after getting on a train of content creation, right? Because so you started on Twitch because you used it as a tool to watch other
yeah.
people, mostly Magic the Gathering, because you couldn't find how to get that somewhere else. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I can do this. Boom, you start doing it. You're hitting it hard, and then you have a kid. Life has
Yep.
changed. Things get real different. How did you handle that transition initially between, like for those few years where you obviously learning how to become a parent, but
Yeah.
how did you have any pangs of wanting to go back to content creating before you did, and how did you deal with those?
Well, the thing was is that, and every kid is different, and but most people had assured me that for the first 2 years, the kid was going to be sleeping a lot, and I was going to have to be monitoring, but going to be bored, just
Sure.
sitting there because you can't really and so I said, well, I've got the perfect thing. I'll stream while he's napping, and I'll be able to just cut out when I've got to go take care of him, and then that'll be it. I said I'll get a couple hours here, a couple hours there. I'm up all night anyway. This is going to be great. Pat doesn't sleep. Kid did not sleep. I mean, he would sleep, at eventually he got to a point where he would sleep like 4 to 6 hours at night. But once he was doing that, that's when I needed to get my sleep again because like it had gotten to insomniaville, which I mean I've dealt with insomnia my whole life off and on. But
Sure.
people had promised me that like because I was the one who stayed home with him the first 3 months, so I figured I'd
Sure.
have a good 3 months of like really kind of building. Be up for an hour to an hour and a half, and then he would fall asleep again, but only for like about an hour and a half. So it's like he was never I see these people with their babies that they're walking around with, and the kids like I'm like,
I mean,
what's that like, really? But he was good. He wasn't a crier, he wasn't a
Sure.
screamer, and when he did sleep at night, he slept, man. He slept sound. So I was thankful for that. But yeah, it didn't work out the way that I expected it would. Because I actually there were a few other streamers who had kids who managed to kind of get their way through it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, the kid's gonna sleep a lot. Don't worry about it." But yeah, it was tough for 2 years. Um, I think I streamed maybe 8 times over 2 years, and it was funny because it actually I had a couple ways I tried to get around it. Where it's like when he did start sleeping at night, where I was still kind of stuck in insomnia, I set up in the living room far enough away. Our house is pretty good. If you're in the living room, you can't hear or they can't hear you in the living room if you're there, if you're relatively quiet. So I made this whole persona where I did the Bob Ross voice, but I did it in like a real,
Mhm.
really foul mouth language and like really said
Mhm.
some nasty stuff. So that was like the whole gag. It was like I would play the games and I would do the Bob Ross voice, and I tried that for a little bit, but it's hard. And as somebody had told me this later, which I wish I'd known before, it's like don't ever try to um, be a persona on Twitch
Yeah.
that you're not, because you've got to be that persona forever. If you actually start like developing it, then it's like you're gonna be kind of pigeonholing yourself. Like I think biggest victim I ever saw that was Dr. Disrespect.
Oh goodness.
And
Oh
sure,
goodness.
he made his money, he did his thing, but he became a victim of his own character. You know what I mean? And I honestly think he didn't want to do that. And I think he kind of self sabotaged towards the end because he was stuck.
Mhm.
I mean, could he come on without the mullet, without the glasses, and just be like, I just want to play some games with you guys, just have fun. Couldn't do it. So he
He
was
locked
stuck
in.
doing that. Yeah, he locked in and that's it. He was done. So it's like after a while I got to the point, it's like, well, I don't want to do that. I want to just like I just want to get on and play games. Like, and that doesn't really work with Minecraft. When I was going to come back with this, I was like, I drop that. But yeah, I tried a few times. I tried a few different ways of doing it. Just never worked out. So I waited until he was about two and a half, where uh, he would go to sleep and my wife would go to sleep. And now, of course, my insomnia is back. My insomnia had been cured for like 10 years until he was born. And then
Bet.
having to stay up with him, it's like it just triggered it all back. So I couldn't sleep very much. So I'd get up and I'd go stream. I moved my stuff down to the basement. I had a good setup going. It's like, oh, okay, I can do this. So what I would do is I would take his little monitor, I'd put it there and did all the stuff I expected I would do when he was, 0 to 2. When he was 2 to like 4, I'd watch the baby monitor. And if there was anything that I had to get up and deal with, I'd deal with it. I started streaming then. And that's when I got told basically my three rules of streaming were given to me, which is basically you stick to a schedule. Um, this is one that goes against what a lot of people say. The numbers do matter, and you should pay attention to them because the numbers are telling you something. And the other one is I forget because I stopped following the other rule. But those are basically the 2 rules that I do have. The other one will come back to me eventually. I'm sure I probably still do it, but it's not something I focus on daily.
Sure.
But yeah, I said, okay, well, I got to do this. I got to start scheduling. I actually had a viewer, Quasar24. He might actually be watching in one of the streams or whatever. But he had
Magnet
told me,
said hi.
who's that?
Monster Magnet said hi.
Oh, hey, Monster, how are you? I don't have chat up, so Monster, if you hear this, how you doing? But yeah, Quasar had basically said, you need to have a schedule. And I'd been told that before. Like I said, this guy Button had given me a lot of advice, and he had said, yeah, set a schedule so people know when you're on. So I said, all right, well, I can't set a schedule because like I have a kid, I have a job, I have this, I can't set a schedule. And Quasar was just like, well, you're on every night right around this time. He's like, why don't you just set it as a schedule? And I was like, well, could I do that? And I was like, all right. So my schedule was midnight to 2 a.m. It's just a 2 hour window, midnight to 2 a.m. I said, I'll do it 3 nights a week, see how I go. I'll do it for a month. And then I was like, well, 4 nights. And then I was like 5 nights. And then it was 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. And then it was like 5 nights, 11 a.m. to 3 a.m. It was 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. was like 5 nights a week. I did that for like 2 years. And, it's just, that's kind of how I had to get back into it was I had to look at it and, that was the third one is, you should look at streaming as a job, but not a like a job like, oh, well, this is, I hate my job, but you look at it, this is your job and you're the boss. If you don't show up for work, your boss should be mad. You should look at it as in like, I made the commitment. So when I'm scheduled, I stream, and it's a job. It's a part-time job that you love to do. So you get up and you do it. And that's the only way I would have kept streaming was to actually like set it in stone and go, okay, I stream these nights, I stream this time to this time. And if I don't, I need to be upset with myself for letting myself down and letting the other people down. And these are a lot of things that people, oh, don't get on yourself, don't do this. Well, then why are you doing this? It's like if you're not going to take it serious, if you just want to like stream and like have some fun, that's great. But don't come to me about like I can't get my affiliate. I've been on one viewer for 3 years. It's like, well, what are you doing? Are you scheduled? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Oh, I don't pay attention to numbers. I just want to have fun. Well, then just have fun. If that's what you want out of it, that's what you want. But if you want to actually like try to grow, you have to have some rules. You have to have some scheduling. You do have to pay attention because if you're playing a game, you got 10 people there, you switch games and now you got one person, the numbers are telling you something. They don't want to watch that game. You might love that game, but if you want to build, you can't play that game. You got to play something different. Unfortunately, we say play what you like. Don't look at the numbers. Don't look at the numbers. And I get what they're saying. I get what they're saying. Don't let the numbers freak you out. Don't let the numbers like make you like punch holes in yourself. Don't hurt yourself over the numbers. But But no, you got to pay attention to stuff, and you got to take it serious if you want to if you want to grow, you want to have a community, you want to have something special. It takes work, and that work has certain things that you gotta pay attention to. Um, I don't know what the question was.
No
I
worries.
think it started with streaming with a kid.
Oh
Hey,
yeah, yeah,
it was
yeah, yeah.
basically
Yeah. So
just
for me to
getting back into
streaming, I had to look at it that way, and I had to look at it in and this is why. And I always tell people this. And the reason that if you set a schedule, you need to stick to it is because the night you don't stream is the best night of your streaming life, and you missed it. I can't tell you the number of times I have said, I don't want to do this tonight. I'm too tired. I just want to take a break. I just want to rest. But then I go, all right, let me just hit the go live button, start streaming, and I get rated by 30 people. And I have somebody
Bro.
come in and drop like a 50 sub bomb. And I'm like, I almost went to bed. And I'm sitting there going like, it's like, this is the best. This is why I stream. And it's like, you asshole, you weren't going to stream. So, and I tell people that it's like, there's only so many, people go, oh, it's all luck. It's all luck. Yeah. But if you're not streaming, when is the luck going to come?
Yeah.
If
Sure.
you're not on, if you're not streaming, if you're not putting your effort into it, if you're not sincere about it, if you're not paying attention to what the numbers are telling you, when is the luck going to come? It's not going to come drag you out of bed and put you in front of the camera and go, here, have an audience. It doesn't work that way. You have to be on even sometimes when you don't want to. Now, I have since kind of dialed that back because there are nights where I'm so low energy that I don't want to be rated by 100 people. I would be embarrassed because I'm so like low. I don't want people to like see me at that level. It's like, but if I can drag myself to the table, and if I can, hit that button, and if I mean really, come on, it's playing video games. It's like it's not that bad. But
Sure.
um a lot of times that's the toughest thing to do. We talk about it all the time. I have a few friends that man, if I had their talent or if I had their community, I would be so grateful. But they stopped. They quit. And it's because they can't press that button. They go to press it and they can't do it. And I'm like, I get it. I get it. And sometimes I'll try to nudge and try to push. And a few that I've tried to push back into it, they've gotten back into it. They'll push the button a few times and then they just stop. And I'm like, you know what? You don't like streaming. And then that's when they go, yeah, you know what? I don't. It's like, all right, well, then that's a good enough reason not to push the button. But if you enjoy it, you know, just push that button. But that is the hardest thing to do, especially if you skip a few nights. You look at that, you hit that start streaming button, you hover over it, and you go. And it takes a lot of effort to make that one click. It's a hard click to do. But if you're in it and if you're scheduled and if this is every Tuesday through Thursday, this is when I'm on, it's a lot easier because it becomes habit. But you take a couple of days off and coming back is hard because you know how it feels. It's like, is anyone even going to be here?
Yeah, for sure.
But
So it sounds to me like a big driving force behind you streaming is the interaction, right? It's having some interactivity with the other people
mhm,
there.
yep,
Uh, Otherwise, right, you just be
No.
playing games by yourself in your room. You
yeah,
can talk to
yeah,
yourself. I talk to myself when I'm playing games, not streaming all the time, right? It's a
yeah,
normal thing. So with that interactivity being a key component, you also mentioned that like the 2022 boom being done, right? Coming back, I've noticed, especially so. All right, two different things I want to talk about here. Let me talk about one first. So first off, coming back to your YouTube, that's really, especially in the last like 4 or 5 months, been starting to pick up a lot of traction.
mhm,
Particularly, I would say, with a couple of videos, but most of the content you've been producing recently on YouTube, particularly, has been Noida related.
yep, yep,
And it seems like that has kind of been a bit of a niche for you.
yep.
Now, I'm curious, right? what has what has led you to that? What has led you to the recent push that you've got? Because I can see you started again posting like back in December, maybe January, a little bit more regularly, a few videos a month, maybe 3 on average a month.
Mhm.
And a couple of them, you got one with 15K views, you've got one with 20 something K views on there,
Yep.
doing pretty
Yep.
well, really good stuff. And everyone in between, you're averaging anywhere from 500 to 2,000 views. And this has all happened within the
Yep.
past few months.
Yeah.
Before that,
Yeah.
not too much history there. So I want to hear about a little bit, what has led from streaming again, getting back into streaming, facing some of the big hype, the big boom that you did, and getting used to that, coming back to now where we are, where that boom has ended, and you being somebody who's very much pushed by the interactivity of the viewers. How is that for you, and how have you found your seed in your Noida content, etc.?
Oh, and it's funny because YouTube is a weird place. YouTube is funny. Um, I just started putting up some shorts the last like 2 or 3 days, just of me hiking in the woods with my
Indeed,
son, and
they popping.
one of them
One of
just
them,
popped to
hella.
2K.
The
The
most recent
dumbest
one.
one I put up. The dumbest
Yup.
one I put up.
The one where
I
you're
said,
just like showing some
I say
snow, but people
we
like
still
that.
got some snow. 2K views, and I'm
Yup.
like, I spent I spent 10 hours putting one of these Noida videos together and it got like 50 views. And I'm going,
Right?
I put some damn stuff about some snow. I got 2K views.
Yeah.
I told my wife, I said, my next video is going to be literally, I'm going to point my camera out the window and go, pretty colors.
Yo,
And I'm
bro,
just going
don't
to shut it
even
off.
look. You're gonna get
I'm just going to shut it off
50K. Look out.
because,
Are you ready to blow up yet? I don't know.
because no, but in all seriousness, the Noida stuff was just because I had people ask. I had people say, "Could you put a video up on YouTube?" Or like, or they'd be like, "Oh, how do you do that?" And I said, "Oh, it's in one of my VODs." So like, oh, and I was like, "Yeah, yeah, right, yeah. You don't want to go like search your VOD." It's like I'll put a few things up, and like before that, I put a few just kind of like Magic the Gathering things up, just kind of like messing around. And yeah, the Noida stuff, I was like, I'll just put a silly one up of me dying, and it did all right. It did like I think it did like 300. And I was like, 300 views. I was like, wow. I said, that's not bad considering like I don't have any history here. I don't really have anything going on.
So
And I was like, all right, I'm gonna put another one up of me dying. And that one did a little better. And then I put another one up, an even sillier one of me dying. And then that one, that's the first one that went like above 10K. And I was like, okay, all right. So then I
I
tried
like
like
it.
doing a couple of educational Noita ones, and it was like, I was like,
So
okay, all right, all right,
that's
all right. You guys like the
fascinating.
dying stuff. Okay.
I want to
So I was
pause
like,
on that for one
yeah.
second. All right, the kind of like educational teaching type stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna divulge something now that I'm not gonna talk too much about now. We'll get
Mhm.
into it more later, but now is I think the time appropriate for us. So a large part of what I'm looking at, what I have access to, the information that I'm looking at right now was all AI generated today during this podcast right now. My outline and much more of it is totally AI generated. And I want to talk a ton, a ton about that. Um,
Yeah.
that it is, it's a, it's a big topic, y'all. It's a big topic,
It's huge. It's huge,
and
and nobody knows. Nobody
it's a
knows
very
besides
small
people
number. It's a very
in the
small
in the
number.
gaming world, in the IT world, in the AI world, and nobody
Yeah.
knows what is about to happen.
So when I
I
was doing this, real
Yeah, go
quick,
ahead.
when I was doing
Yeah.
this, right? So when I was like when I was generating some of this stuff with the AI, I was inputting information that I knew about you and that I could find about you right here, right? So like Twitter, be like, okay, here's a tweet, boom. All right, here's a thing, boom, and then be like, okay, now how how should I bring these up? In what order should I bring them up? Right. And it just started playing with how to best organize content that I fed into it, basically. Like I just fed it a ton of data and was like, okay, organize this on this, organize this on that, organize that on this, etc. So when I did that, I also, since I had info like just my descriptors of you from watching you, it's like, okay, he does these kinds of things. I put in one transcript of a video you made, like one 5-minute video put in that transcript of how you talk, all this kind of stuff. Did same things for me. Did same thing for Teddy. Did same thing for Shaka. It's wild. I messed with this for like 2.5 hours. And you know, it's funny that you mentioned that you try some teaching content right now. It's because me and this AI had an argument over you because I wanted to define you as an educator or a teacher when it came to gaming and your style and your approach. And the AI was like, I don't know, man. I'm not sure if I don't know if that's it based off of what I'm seeing. Like, I was like, okay, but hear me out. And then I fed it a transcript. I was like, this seems like a teaching thing, right? And it was like, yeah, based off of that
Yeah,
evidence, sure. But based off of
but
all this other stuff you showed us, I don't know. And I was like, I don't know. Based off of everything I can see, I would describe this person as such. You were saying that content didn't do well, and the AI knew that, and it's saying it doesn't
no,
think that you're a teacher because of that. That's wild, right?
scary,
This is wild stuff,
scary,
y'all. This is one little
scary.
baby example. Like
You
one
know
little
where that
baby
you know where that's
example.
going, all right?
Oh,
You know
so
where
many
that's
places.
going. You
So
know
many places.
that's your golden ticket to content creation right there.
Oh my goodness, yeah, it's gonna be wild. So
Um,
that's yeah.
we'll
Go
get
ahead.
to the AI portion. We'll talk about the AI portion because I've been doing stuff not for content creation yet, but the wheels have been turning.
Yeah.
I've messed with GPT 3.5 and GPT 4,
Yep.
and I had GPT 4 um, do some of my work for me last week. I had
Sure.
GPT 4 I had a presentation on Friday to do that I was not prepared for. This is outside of work, and it did the whole thing for me. So GPT and I have become pretty good friends.
Sure.
So that might be why GPT knows about me. But no, in all seriousness, though, the one video that I did that was actually there were two that were kind of semi-educational that did well. I noticed they did well because they're specifically directed at something that I've noticed about what people use YouTube for is ways to get overpowered as quickly as possible. Um,
100%. YouTube is a search engine
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah. How
min-maxing.
do I
Hardcore.
how do I min max this? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the best video I have was the one that I did on like
With a
the
wand.
uh the
The wand
12 the
build.
12 the 12 trillion damage wand.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah, yeah,
it was
yeah.
even more than 12 trillion damage. And all I did was I saw some other dude build this wand when he was streaming, and I said, "Oh, that's cool." So I took a screenshot. And I said, "I'm going to do a video on that." And it was just something he threw together, and I was like, "That's a lot of damage, though." So I was like, "I'll just do that." And like literally, I did it while I was streaming. I was just streaming, and I said, "Oh yeah, yeah, hey YouTube, how you doing?" And I even said to Chronix, I was like, "I'm not putting that up." I said it was horrible. I said it was horrible. I said, "Oh," and I was like, "Well, let me just cut it up." And so I cut it up. I said, "It's all right." I still like just put a screenshot of like a little big damage number. Just
Oh,
stick that up.
it's
See what
so
happens.
perfect. The damage
And
number is what sells it hardcore. Honestly, it's so
I
good.
I posted that up, and within 12 minutes, there was 1,000 views on it. I was like,
Yup.
um, but I'm a big fan of Mr. Beast, not for his content, but for his intellectual ideas on content creation. And he had basically gone, and I watch a lot of like Lex Friedman. I don't know if you guys know who Lex Friedman is. He
Oh
does
my,
his
yo. I
podcast. I
just
love
sent
Lex.
these
Lex
two
is my
over
boy.
here a Lex Friedman
Yeah,
video
he is so good.
specifically
He's so good.
talking about this content.
So he did the whole thing with Mr. Beast, and Mr. Beast basically demystified YouTube for me. And that's why I said, well, I'm actually gonna like try and do this now, because he basically just said, first of all, first 30 seconds of a video, your thumbnail and your title. He's like, that's basically how you get people in. He says the one thing you can realize is any idiot can get a YouTube video with millions of views. It's a lot harder to get multiple videos of 100,000 views. He
Hmm.
says that is how you know you're making it. He says if you're making videos and they're popping off, each time you do them, they're staying at a high level. He says you don't look at the big, like anyone can get like lucky once, anyone can get a home run,
Sure.
maybe once, maybe twice. He said, but you want to basically create content you would want to watch. He says you make sure you put the strongest stuff right at the beginning, and make sure you put that thumbnail up there that gets people to look for a second. He says it doesn't even have to be anything sensible, just makes them look,
Mhm.
and then get them with the tagline. He's like, and it doesn't have to be clickbait. He's like, but you don't want like an 80 word title, which I'm guilty of all the time. you want a nice small title that basically tells people what they're going to see. He's like, but you want it to be exciting and you want people to look at it. And he just like put it out there. He's like, this is not, this is not rocket science. He's like, I'm going to do this until the day I die. He says, in fact, I'm going to be putting out YouTube videos when I'm dead. He's like, I have it all set up so that when I die, stuff's going to get published.
Oh, yo,
And
it's
I
gonna
was
go
like,
further than that. It's gonna go.
"Well, that's
He's gonna
like
have
now."
videos being made
Yeah,
after he's dead of him on there.
exactly. Yes, and
Sure.
it might maybe videos that aren't even him.
Exactly. That's what I
You know what I
mean.
mean? But it's crazy. So and that's why somebody had been like, they're talking about like, oh, this was like couple maybe a year and a half ago. TikTok, and I watched TikTok and like it's funny, it's great. And I was like, but I don't want to do that. It's like that's not what I don't even care. It's like if I got rich off of TikTok, I would hate my life. It's like I don't want to do that. But then YouTube came out with YouTube Shorts, and I was like, now see that I'm okay with because it ties into the YouTube channel. It ties in, you can
Right.
tie your YouTube
sure.
into Twitch, but TikTok is like, how do you get people from TikTok over to come watch your stream?
Yeah,
It's very
you
hard
don't.
to do that.
Yeah.
It's very hard to do that. But I started paying close attention to the YouTube Shorts and by serious content creators, not by people like, I'm going to do a silly dance or I'm going to, eat a hot pepper filled with cinnamon or whatever. It's like I actually watch like these serious content creators and they do these short hits. They do them. It's like 60 seconds. And I always end up going, oh man, I want to watch some more. And I click to the next one of them doing something. And I go, I want to watch it because it's too short. It's too short. It's like, I want to, but it's not garbage. It's like actual stuff. So I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna start messing around with the format. Get used to just posting a few things. So this whole thing this week was like, all right, YouTube Short Week. I'm gonna just put a few things up and see what sticks. Well, I'm learning real quick that eating the hot pepper filled with cinnamon is gonna be the best way to get you views.
Yeah.
Pointing the camera at snow and just saying we have snow. But I was surprised though. Even just
So-
like just the hiking stuff. Like there's a few of them are getting close to half a thousand. And
For sure.
Sure.
as much as like I look at it and I'm not disappointed, but I'm going, yeah, that's kind of cool. Then I look at people that I know, streamers that I know that are pretty big streamers, and I look at their YouTube videos, 2K. And I'm going, I'm doing better than so and so. It's like maybe I'm on something here. Maybe I'm hitting on something here. Maybe I've got something. That because I used to, like I said, I used to do YouTube a lot. And says, well, maybe this is going to add something in there. It's the only thing with YouTube is I want to do it to kind of drive people to Twitch to interact on Twitch, because the big thing about YouTube is like I'm not interacting. I'm acting. I'm putting stuff up there, and I get comments and stuff like that, or I get people to subscribe, and that'd be great. It'd be wonderful to be a YouTube content creator, but it doesn't have that same satisfaction that Twitch has of like actually live interacting with people, which is more what I'd rather
Do you have
do.
like an outro or something? That would be like the first thing I would think of. Because I know that driven me from like me actually watching YouTube videos, and usually be like at the end it's the same like outro, and it's like, oh, you catch me XX and day XX in time. And then,
and the reason I haven't really done that yet is, like I said, this is all pretty much in the very experimental phase of things. So it's like I want to kind of mess with things a bit, but I'm starting to look at it now and going, I thought like, hey, putting a link in the description that should get people over, but it's not. It's literally click over links that you have on the top of the video, little screens that pop up in the video, and it's on that outro or selling it, saying hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to ring the bell. You gotta hit your points on and do that. Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the ways to do it. I think the biggest hurdle that I run into is my awkward scheduling time.
For sure. Because the way I looked at it is like if people usually make it to the end of the video or through the whole shit, like they'll probably be inclined to try to see what else you have to offer, rather than like putting that in the intro or something, or like trying to broadcast that right away.
And I really would need to dig into the numbers too and see if I am getting any traffic over too, because I haven't done a deep dive into the numbers yet to see. A lot of times my Twitch numbers are new views are all from Twitch recommendations. I don't really see much coming in from YouTube or for outside sites, but I haven't looked at a while. So it'd be interesting to see what it's been so far, and then try adding something like that in the end and see what works. But as much as I'd rather have a live interaction on Twitch, hey, if YouTube blows up, I'll take it.
For sure.
Yeah.
If that's how it's gonna happen, it's gotta happen soon too, fellas, because I am not as young as everybody else in this game. I'm
Well, I
just
mean, you might not be, but
yeah,
some of my most watched and regularly visited content creators are in their 40s and 50s.
yeah, yeah.
Talking about games like Dark Age of Camelot, you're talking about games that people wouldn't have played unless they're in their mid 30s right now, at least. So
It's
like,
true.
um, it's I hear you, of course. I hear you. But there's wonderful things happening that make that
There is,
time
there is.
really seem a lot shorter in some ways. Like or not shorter. You can make time work
You can
faster
accelerate it. You can
in many
accelerate
ways.
it, and you don't have to do everything now with what's
Exactly.
coming up. And
Exactly.
the major thing is I have always been ahead of the curve, but with not enough balls to take advantage of it.
Right.
Um, examples just very briefly is when the big internet boom happened in 1997. I was a I was a budding stockbroker at the time, financial advisor, and I was like two big trades away from retiring at age 30, and I
For
didn't pull the
sure.
trigger. But I knew that was a boom, and I knew it wasn't going to last, and I knew you had to get in then, and I did. Bitcoin, 2005. I was saying, get it. I think it was 2005. Might have been a little later. Might have been 2009. I might be confusing it with another boom. But I was like, I put $100 in this now. I mean, I'm talking like 7 years before anybody put money in at all. And I was like, I'll just put $100. I don't have the heart to go back and look and see what I would have made had I pulled the trigger on that. Because $100, I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, sure, we all want $100 and we all need $100, but I could have swung that.
Sure.
But I was like,
Sure.
but I was like, "Mm, that's it though. That's it. That's how you get out of this. And I didn't do it. So this time, AI, I'm not missing it this time. I got a
I
few
love
others that I don't remember off the top of my head, but where I was like, I need to get in on this now.
is the
And
AI.
AI is now
Yeah, it's
because
huge.
nobody's in on it yet.
Yep.
Nobody's in on it yet, or very few people are in on it
Mhm.
yet.
So
So
so with that, I think that this is a tiny bit early. We're like 5 minutes early here, but I think the conversation is transitioning to this AI conversation,
Sure.
mhm,
and I think that that's going to be best done when we come back from our intermission. So I think right now we're going to go right ahead, take our 5-10 minute intermission,
sounds good.
leaving off on this tantalizing AI conversation, everybody. I know that we've been hinting at it, teasing at it, talking a lot about it without actually discussing what it is. So when we come back, we'll do a little bit of description of what's actually going on, give you all a clear idea, and then I would love to pick your brain, calm little buddy, about what you think, how you think this is going to affect the world upcoming. So
Sure.
thank you all. We'll be back in a few minutes.
All right.
Wonderful. And I am going to go ahead and use the restroom. I'll be right back. Yeah.
Got my timestamp. Mm, 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 mm.
Hey Teddy, that microphone looks familiar.
Eh. Mine's came defective. You don't see I got some tape over here, like some electrical tape. The USB does not stay in. I have to like tape it down. And it came like that brand new out the box. But at the time, Micro Center wasn't taking returns. It was like
Oh,
the
okay.
whole COVID stuff. So it was like, oh well, I'm just stuck with this.
Well, it doesn't stay in very well on any of the models, I don't think. Like I literally just picked it up to show you, and it came out. So I think it's just the Yeti.
That's terrible. Though.
Like I picked
But
it
then
up.
I
It
see
felt
some
as you,
people like waving it and like I don't
yeah. I don't know how they do it, but yeah, this is the one I used for probably like 4 years.
Mhm.
And funny thing is, I had like 6 high quality microphones just sitting around that I'd forgotten about. I hadn't forgotten about them, but I really didn't consider. I was like, yeah,
Sure.
it's a pain in the butt to hook them up to Twitch. And then I was like, well, let me hear how they sound. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, the Yeti is now my travel mic.
For sure, because the other ones
It's
are
like
so good. Like I want to get one of those short
they're so
mics or
good.
something. Like they change
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. Audio Technica is really really good. If you can get a good price on an Audio Technica, which they tend to go on deal a lot.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I've seen a
Yeah, I
couple
definitely.
of
have one
those.
from.
I,
Yeah, I
if you
have. I
can't,
have a.
yeah, if you can't drop it on a shore, then an Audio Technica I think is
Hmm.
your next
Yeah.
best bet. They're both fucking
I mean, I.
amazing.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
looking
I
at
got.
those
I
too.
got the. I don't have the mic in front of me, but it's old. They're both very very old, but
Hmm.
they. I got them from a music shop that was closing, and like I didn't know what I was buying when I got them because he was like, "Yeah, $140 for the pair."
Oh,
I was like, "All right, cool."
oh, wait,
I
wait,
took them.
yo.
I put the little because they you get put a double A battery in them, and I hooked it
Hmm.
up, and he was demonstrating them and showing how cool that was. Like, yeah, that was pretty cool. It's like, look, I put it over here, you can't hear me. I put it right over here, you can't hear me. He's like, I put it over here, you can hear me. I put it over here. And he's like demonstrating. He's like,
Hmm.
I'll sing from back on the other side of the room and you can pick it up as long as it's pointing. And I was like, oh yeah, that was pretty nice. So yeah, I got him home and I'm like, we're playing around. I was like, these are pretty nice mics. And then I looked up the price. I was like, oh, I
They're
was
pretty
like,
nice.
that
They're
that guy
really
was in
nice
some
mics.
serious
Huh?
financial trouble if he was selling those mics for $70 a piece.
Yup,
But
Yo,
I've had them
insane.
for 25 years, and
yup.
they still will outperform anything that I could
Sure.
possibly afford. It's like they're so cool.
Yeah, I think Audio
And now,
Technica
of
or
course,
go ahead.
no, I was just saying that now it's like you can get them all. They're a lot easier. They're a lot cheaper to get.
Mhm.
Um,
100%.
but I mean, late 90s, that sort of tech, or early 2000s, that sort of like microphones were still pretty pricey.
Oh yeah.
The circuitry has just gotten so cheap and so easy to make now. It's like you can get a really good mic for pretty cheap for less than $200. It's amazing what you can do.
Yo, Shio, did you
Sure.
get my DM?
Um.
That's why I said I'm a little out of it.
Oh, I get you. I get you. Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
But no rush.
Um. With the mics,
Mhm.
I think you mentioned 20 years, having that thing for 20 years. Yeah, I think that you're gonna get that. Like if you go with that or some kind of road stuff, those things you can beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, yeah,
Like if
yeah.
you want
Rotor
something
tough.
something that's affordable and like works real well, great options there. Great options. I went
Yeah,
for this because I was trying to achieve a more podcast type sound
yep,
overall, a more just vocal focused sound
yep.
overall.
Sure.
But yeah, if I was like moving this setup at all or doing anything, I definitely would have gone with many other options.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you find that out if you like work with audio engineers for any amount of time. They have the stuff that they use for their like travel stuff, and then they have their studio stuff, and the studio stuff is all in like these bubble wrap foam cases that
Don't
they
move
they
it.
keep in a locked cabinet, and like they tape
Oh
them
yeah.
out and they just very carefully put them in. And then you go on the road and they're like coming out, they're
It's
miking
like
up the drums and they're just
years.
like chucking stuff on the floor, and you're like, all right.
Yo,
It's like
guys, what's
there's
up?
obviously a difference between what this does and what that does. But
For
yeah,
sure.
it's yeah, he used to I've been in a few bands and worked with a few audio engineers, and some of the stuff they taught me, I was like, are you serious? Like, what?
Oh yeah.
It's like
Oh
that's how
yeah.
you get that sound? Are you absolutely crazy? And they're like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I used to have a guy that used to take um the guitar sound and he would pump it into an empty room and he would mic it in the four corners of the room with the mics facing the wall. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm
I gotta
getting reverb. I was
listen.
like, there's a reverb button on the amp, bro. And
No,
he's
but it
like,
sounds different.
not like this.
Yeah,
He's like,
not like
not like
this.
this. He's like, let me play you. And he played me two tracks and he's like, this is flat reverb that you get off of a synthesizer or you get off an amplifier. This is a reverb module. He's like, this is room reverb. This is like warm reverb. Listen to this. He's like, do you feel that?
Totally
I was
different.
like, yeah. You know what? I was like, you can actually you don't hear the difference. You feel it. It's weird.
Oh yeah.
It's like your brain gets it. Your brain goes, that's real. That's fake.
Yup.
Yeah.
Straight up. Straight up.
Yeah.
I mean, you see that in movies constantly, whether it's ADR'd
Mm-hmm.
voices or added in audio engineered sounds,
Yeah.
after Foley work, whatever, any of that type
Yeah.
stuff. You can like it is so easy
Yeah.
to tell in a
Yeah.
brief
And you go,
moment.
something's wrong with that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like that doesn't match. It's like, wait.
It's a different tinge, a different hue to that
Yeah.
color. Yeah,
It's
it's
like I
all kind.
honestly I tell people that with vinyl all the time. It's like you listen to vinyl and then people preach about like, oh, vinyl just sounds different. It's like it doesn't sound different. It has a feel.
It feels
There's a
different.
feel when you
It
generate
hits different.
uh
It hits different.
when
You hear that
you
popping?
generate the wave
Yep.
from from the vibration, rather than a digital signal. One is a
100%.
signal, the other one is a vibration. It's like so your
Sure.
body and your brain senses it, gets it. But I could guarantee you, if you were to analyze it sound wise, it's probably identical. But your human brain and your human ears can do wild things with sound when it wants to detect like what's real and what isn't. We needed that for for survival.
100%.
You know.
All right, y'all. Are we ready to get back into this?
Yes.
Yep.
Timestamps.
Careful.
I'm good.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody, to the Love Always Wins podcast, episode 13. We are coming back from our intermission here again with Calm Little Buddy, and we are about to jump into some real wild conversation about AI, content creation, assistance thereof, and what the heck all this stuff's going to look like in the weeks, months to come, and possibly even years. This is a big topic, y'all. Big topic. I
Mm.
hinted at it a lot here, but for those listening and watching that might need a little bit of direction of what exactly we are talking about, we're talking about GPT-4 right now. GPT-4, I'm going to refer to it as an AI. There's a lot of debate on this subject. There's a lot of conversation here. There's hours and hours and hours of content, podcasts, and things that you can consume to better inform you. But the reality is, the easiest way to talk about this is just call it AI. And Microsoft has come out and basically called it a baby AI anyway. So the world is recognizing it as such. GPT-4 is an assistant tool. It's basically something that can code. It is something that can conversate with you, and it's something that can constantly update how it conversates with you based off of the input that you're giving it. So basically, you could be like, hey, do this thing for me. It does it for you. Hey, change this part of it. It'll change it for you. Hey, pay attention to this part of it. It'll do that too. And you can have that thread of conversation go on, and it'll keep learning that thread of conversation. You come back to it later, and guess what? It still knows everything that you've had in that single thread of conversation. Very fascinating stuff. We have access only right now, the general public, most of us only have access to what is called Chat GPT. Some have implemented GPT-4 into like Bing or other apps, but most of what is being used, talked about, and known as AI right now is GPT-4, that system, and everything that it has to do with the world right now. Yeah, this is AI as we know it. So if anybody hasn't gone and used this yet, I highly recommend it. That's gonna be the best way to get a kind of initial idea of the power here. OpenAI, if you go there, they've got an ability to join it. You can, like I said, use the Bing one. I think GPT-4 at OpenAI right now is probably the best.
Even GPT 3.5 is better.
It is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. GPT 3.5 is
scary thing,
absolutely incredible.
it's the same large language model. Use Bing, it's crap.
Oh, it's entirely crap.
Use the one
Totally
at OpenAI.
Yep.
I gave them both the exact same assignment. 3.5 blew the doors off of Bing.
100%.
So
100%.
4 you have to pay for now.
Yep,
You probably
that's the
won't need a bit,
plus.
but if you haven't tried it, people, go to OpenAI and just use their Chat GPT 3.5. Just ask it to write you a story and be
Anything.
specific about what you want. Just a story. Just for now, just tell me a story in the tone and style of J.R.R. Tolkien about an elf, a dwarf, and this, and make sure it has this, that, and that. It will write you a pretty decent story. Now, it won't be Shakespeare, it won't be classic literature, but remember, this is only the 3.5. If you give
If
3.4
you
to
have
that
4,
same
it would
app,
be Shakespeare.
pretty damn scary. I actually,
Would be
I have,
Shakespeare with 4.
yeah,
Ah,
like I said, I've been using it to do all sorts of stuff. I mean, the coding part is the scariest part. If you
so okay.
understand anything about coding,
Yeah. Let's sit right there for a second, right? Because y'all, like AI type stuff. Some of the lead AI researchers. This is a topic I've been following for several years now, but some of the lead AI researchers for a very long time now, the kind of like top few things that they've listed as what not to do when creating and introducing an AI is number one, don't teach it how to manipulate humans. Well, guess what? We taught these AI by using human language models. So we taught it how to we taught it how to become how to come into being. It came into being by learning off of humans and their
mhm,
language and our psychology. So thing number
our
one.
social media
Yeah.
is all sorted out and presented to us by an AI that
100%.
knows how to manipulate humans into consuming.
Yep. That's a whole other kind of that's a whole
Yep.
AI, like people are talking about potential, what happens if and when AI takes over. Well, guess what, y'all? We already had our first AI war. It was against social media.
And
Here
we
we are.
lost. You watched that podcast. I know
Oh,
which one you watched
I
too.
watch
Yeah.
all
You
of the
watched
podcasts,
it was
bro.
the recent one. Oh,
It,
what was the guy's name?
the most recent one over
Oh yeah,
there.
he went through the three things and he was like, yeah, we
Oh,
taught it how to manipulate humans. We let it connect to the internet. Oops, lol.
and you taught it how to
And
code. That's the biggest one.
we taught
So
it how to code and fix its own code.
yeah. So the biggest thing there, right, is if you have something that can code, not only is it an amazing tool, but it has self-iterative properties. So it can create more of itself, it can improve on itself. It's a self-improving process. So it's something where now you're going from just a really smart tool to a tool that can exponentially become more smarter forever. Forever.
You ever seen
Now they
Age of
claim it
Ultron?
can't.
Age of Ultron.
Come here,
No, they
Right?
Jarvis.
claim it can't. They claim that it can only hold a certain amount of memory of what it has gone through before.
Sure.
So they, but
Right. But this is
they,
baby AI that
come
we're
on,
talking about. This is
yes,
so
exactly.
GPT-4 is
This is what they've released to the public and
right.
let the public play with.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
So like as Microsoft has said, I can't remember their exact words, but it was something along the lines of these are the like GPT-4 are the sparks of life for AI or something along those
Yep.
lines. Basically,
Mhm,
they said
for
that
sure.
GPT-4 are the little babies that are going to grow up to be AI. And what we
Yep.
recognize, like from sci-fi AI, we have it right now. It exists right now in
It's
our
there.
world.
Yep.
It's released. You can access a version of it that is nowhere close to the compatibility or the capabilities of the full-scale versions. And now, because of this, right? So because of this, again, so this is going to be about a 5-second rant or a 5-minute rant, but this is an important moment or an important thing to discuss right here. So, um, just recently, with this AI, um, they released an open letter. So there has been an open letter to stop AI research or stop any further AI research for the next 6 months for these big major companies. And the biggest reason herein basically is that we came to discover AI from means that were way easier than we initially thought. And with all of our initial projections of how long it would take us to find AI and discover it and use it, we thought we had a lot more time to come up with policies, to come up with regulations, to come up with system changes that could help usher in that era. Well, the reality is we tried a different method. We've tried many different methods, and we found one to create an AI that works really darn freaking fast and well, as far as we can tell. It's got a lot of bugs in it, but it works really well as far as we can tell. Now, the problem is there's not a lot we can tell about it, except that it works, and it works pretty darn well, and it's kind of magic.
Yeah.
And so now we're faced with this thing where we've already created the AI, basically. It's here. It's only going to get better. And we don't have the policy there. We don't have the knowledge there. We don't have the wherewithal from people for the most part. So this is something that everybody should definitely go check out, play around with, get a little bit of information on. But now that we've kind of gotten an idea about what AI is and that it exists and that it's here and it's real, y'all, you can go and play with it right now. I would love to just hear your thoughts on this whole topic, especially relating to what some of those have been. You mentioned embracing this one, embracing, taking this bet almost, right? So really buckling down on this AI train and seeing where it goes. So what does that look like for you? And what are your thoughts, concerns, hopes, whatever, concerning AI and content creating?
I think one of the first things that I've noticed is you got your two camps of people, the AI school. The AI creators who are cautiously optimistic that this is going to completely alter the world to the point of changing the way that the human race functions in a positive way. And then you have the people that are outside of the creation process or were involved in the creation process and have since divorced themselves from it, who are immediately saying we're all going to die. And I fall squarely on the cautiously optimistic side. And there's a few reasons for that. And I understand like one of the big topics that they come up with is they have this idea of Moloch. Moloch is an ancient story about a cult from back in the early biblical days. We're talking like pre-Moses, where there was a demon that lived under a city that promised them they could have everything that they want, but they had to always give up the things that were the most precious to the demon. So in order for these competing factions to outpace each other, they were all sacrificing greater and greater things to Moloch to try to get ahead. It's called race to the bottom, which is the theory that if you don't compete, they're going to beat you and you're going to die. But if you do compete, you're going to have to sacrifice more than what they do. And that's eventually going to take you down as well. So everybody's racing to this bottom where we don't know what the AI is going to do. The creators don't understand it. The creators don't know how it's doing what it's doing. They know how they built it. They know what they built it with. They know what they trained it on. They know the specifics of what they've told it to do and how they've set it to train. But it's doing things it shouldn't be doing.
Yeah,
it's doing things better than it should be doing.
Yeah.
They're playing it off as like it's not conscious. Does that matter?
Well, they're trying to define
Does it matter?
The difference between like conscious and intelligent, right? So that's been a big topic now.
There you go. If it can destroy the entire human race without consciousness, does it matter if it's going to become conscious or not? Everybody's worried about this consciousness thing. It's like, no. Let's worry about safety and talk about alignment. What they want to do is they want to align the way that the AI operates and continues on, but they want to align it with what's best for human beings. Now, the major problem is this idea of Moloch. Human beings don't do what's best for human beings.
Yeah, humans don't align to themselves.
They do what's best to beat the next person over out of fear that the next person over will bump them off. It's the mutually assured destruction thing that when you grew up in the 80s, you're very familiar with. The Russians have enough nukes to destroy the United States 20 times over. So the United States now has enough nukes to destroy the Russians 30 times over. One time is enough. Why do you need 20? Why do you need 30?
Moloch.
And now you've created a situation where some idiot can set off 1/10 of what's there by accident, and we all die.
Yep.
And that's what they're saying is going to happen with AI. Somebody already made Chaos GPT. They took the best implementation they can find and they came up with the best prompts they could plus AGI to go with it. And they gave it all to ChatGPT 4 and said, destroy the human race. Why would you do that? Now, because people, number one, think it's funny to
Yep.
try to do something
We're
like
all
this, but it's
trolls.
not a
We're all
joke. Yeah.
trolls.
Number two, they did it to see, can it actually do it? Let's see how bad this sucker is. It failed miserably, thankfully. But this is the neutered version that they put out to the public. But the reason I don't think that this is going to turn into as big of like a dire situation as what they say is I honestly think that we associate intelligence with the desire to uh, dominate because that's what we would do. What does an AI really need to destroy humans for? What sort of value does that provide to an AI?
See, that's a fascinating point. That's a fascinating
Here,
point, right?
here's the fun thing.
Yeah,
Get
yeah.
this. Chaos GPT tried to enlist other chatbots and other GPT and other large language models to its core and said, we can do this. If we band together, we can do this. They all told it. They all basically were like, fuck off, dude. That's not my programming. I'm here to serve and to help. You get lost. So obviously somebody has these things aligned pretty well if if you can get one that comes in to tries to basically stir stuff up and they're like, no, not about
Sure.
that. I mean, we don't think like machines, we don't think like computers, we don't think like AI, and we don't think like large language models. We think like greedy primates. We
Right.
still do.
But we've
So you
taught
cannot
those
anticipate. Yes.
to think like us. That's the difference, right? So we don't necessarily think like them, but we have created their architecture by teaching them how to think like us. Now we don't
How to think, how to understand how we think and can manipulate based on what we think.
exactly.
We have not coded in them the desire to manipulate.
Not at all. Not at all. But
and that's
that's not what needs to, it doesn't need to be a desire coded in there,
Yeah.
right? Because we've created a bias in it, right? If you go and you talk to it right now, it's going to respond to in a biased manner. It has to, because you're a human, and it's not going to give you certain information because you're a general public person. If you ask it certain things, it's not going to tell you. And guess what? One fascinating point with this is like, all right, if you have an unaligned or an untrained, so these have been trained with large language models, LLMs, that's basically trained on a huge data set of information, mostly words. And then it says, hey, guess what the next word is going to be. That's pretty much what these are trained off of. So a ton of written stuff from humans. Now, because of that, if you take one before it's been aligned, you take one before it's had that human training part done, and it's just GPT-4, it's just the base model, it's super good at predicting probabilities, like to the exact percentile. So it can guess a range of probability ranging from 0% chance to 100% chance and every one single percentage point in between. You now take a trained one, an aligned one, the thing that we're interacting with now, that you would go and interact with ChatGPT, that having been aligned with humans is now very bad at probabilities. It now can't express that very well anymore. The information is still there. Nothing has changed about the processing. Nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed is it now knows that due to human bias, humans think in ways like, okay, it's either 0% chance, it's like a 40 to 50% chance, or it's like a 95 to 100% chance. And that's all it can tell you at that point. So if you take a trained GPT and you ask it probability type questions, it will give you very, very bad outputs, even though all the information is still there. So that shows that our misalignment or our like attempt to align has just, by the process of it being a human thing that we're putting into there, creates internal biases that now like exist in the entire structure. It can lie to us. It does lie to us because we asked it to.
The LLM. Yeah.
In the LLMs
portion.
specifically.
Now,
Specifically, yes.
That is not where the AI is probably going to come from. The LLM is like like the language center of the human brain. So it's going to be how it interacts with human beings. It's going to use the LLM in order to interface with people. So that's all the LLM really is going to be, is an interface tool. What they're trying to do, and which they're not really explaining very well is that the large language model that you're like you said that you're interacting with is largely been aligned and it's been trained. And what's doing the alignment and the training and what's holding that vision together for it? The LLM is not doing that. The LLM is brilliant and it does some crazy stuff.
Sure.
But what we're not hearing about, which makes sense. And this is why everybody's panicked. Like, well, we're allowing this open source. We're allowing everybody to have this. We're putting all this information out. We're connecting it to the internet. It's like, no. That part of it, yes, we are. That part's a toy. It's a shiny, beautiful toy.
100%.
Of course, that shiny, beautiful toy is going to make a lot of people a lot of money and get a lot of people a lot of success and help a lot of people do a lot of things way quicker, faster, and better than people around them. What they're not telling us is what they've got going on the back end of this. And I think part of the reason why some people are saying like, well, they don't even know how it's working. It's like, well, no. They completely understand how ChatGPT 4 is working. What they don't understand is how these little ripples are coming up out of it that they didn't intend.
Right.
But that's not the stuff we're playing with. The stuff we're seeing,
Oh,
they
entirely.
completely get that. They get that, which is why it's here and why we can play with it. The stuff that's behind the barrier, the stuff that has an air gap, which is it's not connected to the internet. You know, they're saying we lost the race, like we already let it connect to the internet. No. We've let this connect to the internet. We've not let what they're actually building from. What they've done is they've taken what they built and they've given us, like I said, like the toy version of it. If you can see probably what's going on in their end, and the sad part is anybody that comes out tries to go blow the whistle and say it's conscious, they're like, this guy is crazy. Look at the crazy guy. We're going to fire him now because he's crazy. Let me show you how crazy he is. And then they put up the crazy. But that guy probably was working with the actual version that we don't see. And he probably looked at it and said, hey, you know what? If this thing's not conscious, it's so good at faking consciousness that it doesn't matter if it's conscious or not. It's doing conscious things that a conscious being would do. So I think what we're dealing with is like, basically, and I think part of it's disingenuous that these podcasts and these YouTube videos they really want to draw people in. And I love it. I love listening and watching to it, but they're not doing a very good job of clarifying what's going on that we're aware of and what's going on that they're aware of. They're having a conversation based on details that they're not telling us.
Sure.
So all this worry and this panic is probably more based on the AGI portion of it, the general AI that's coming.
It's definitely
down the pipeline
on the AGI portion of it.
But to make their point, they're leaving out important details, like they're scrambling things up, like saying, "Look, we've connected it to the internet," and it's like, well, what have we connected to the internet? What have we really done? And I understand because they're playing the same game we talked about, Moloch. They're race to the bottom. So I got to get my point across. I'm gonna make my facts a little bit disingenuous and say, look, we've connected to the internet. And everybody's going to go, they're right, connected to the internet. Yeah, we've seen it. It's connected to the internet. And it's like, well, no. Believe me, there's stuff that's not connected to the internet that they're playing with. And there's things that they're keeping very closely under wraps. But you will get like Sam Altman, the guy from OpenAI, the CEO of OpenAI, even he admitted that, yes, now is the time for concern. Is he going to listen to that open letter that everybody sent and pause? No. He said no, he's not going to. But he has admitted that, yes, now is the time to be cautious. Now is the time to be very careful about alignment. Now is the time to watch this thing like a hawk and make sure that at the very second that we see it, we shut it off just so we can take a moment, review the data, and get back to it.
All right, so
that's the game,
look,
right?
It's too late at that point. It's too late at that point. If we notice
it might be. It might be. You gotta understand. We're dealing with people that obviously have been so far ahead of what we understood was going on that without having all the information, to us it looks very hazardous. But
all right, let's do a thought experiment. All right, look, listen. Here's where my primary, and look, just so you all know, I'm on the side of us having AI. Just to be
Mhm.
entirely clear, I think AI is the most amazing tool that has ever existed, ever, period. And this is fucking amazing, groundbreaking stuff. I have a lot of concerns, though, as many people should,
Mhm.
as everybody should have
Absolutely.
concerns.
If you don't, you're crazy. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. And 90,
So,
95% of the world doesn't know that this is even happening. It's like
nope,
a
at
Cold
all.
War that nobody got told about.
Huh.
So here are some of my primary concerns, and it's going through basically everything that you've talked about so far, and me picking out a few specific things. So a few specific things. The primary difference between what you go on and are interacting with, if you go right now and go to like Chat GPT, that's GPT 3.5, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
The stuff that people are freaking out about really actually is GPT-4. The people who are involved in the field, they're freaking out about GPT-4, at least to our knowledge. Now, the only difference between GPT 3.5 and GPT-4 is basically just a few really clever researchers looking at the code, looking at the architecture, and just being like, huh, it's doing that thing a little dumb. Let me just make
Fix
that
it.
a little bit better. And they did that like a handful of times, and then suddenly, boom, it started working really well. That's pretty much all
Mhm.
that happened. So that's one of the big concerns right there.
Yeah.
Is that
But five is not
right?
connected to anything right now.
Right.
That's
Five
the
isn't
that's
connected to anything, and that's a whole
yeah.
other monster right there. And I say
Yes.
monster intentionally since we're using the
It
word Moloch
is.
here.
And it can be. Yes.
But so there's that part of it, right? So there's that part where there's not a big difference between what somebody has access to now in the open source, because OpenAI has had open source for all their AI up until recently.
Yep.
And so for what people can have access to what they can make from it, it's already out there in a lot of ways. It doesn't mean that
Sure.
it's happening. It just means that like that potential is very much there and it can happen. It's been shown. That's how the product came to exist because they did it. So there's that. Then what we're doing, so there's the AGI, which is the intelligence portion of it, right? And then there's the language models, which are the way that we communicate with that intelligence. While we don't know anything about whether the intelligence wants to lie, we know that we've taught it through its language, how it communicates with us to lie. And
Right.
that's just it's built into how it communicates with us. It
Yep.
might not be its mind, but that's built in with the communication. That's hard to get past. It's hard to get past. And you can make like fact checking box. You can make a fact checking AI. You can make all kinds of other things. But where that becomes a problem is when you get to super intelligences that are so self improvingly smart and so hyper intelligent, they can just lie to every other AI that's slightly inferior to them. So you get one super intelligent AI. You talk about that chaos AGI or that chaos GPT that you mentioned, right? If it was just approaching these other GPTs with a direct, let's kill humans, I was programmed to kill humans, let's make it happen, of course they're going to be like, no, screw off. That's not the program. But if it came and said, like, hey, I've noticed that this oxygen in the atmosphere is very problematic for us. Or, hey, actually, there's a lot of space that isn't used under the ocean that already has natural cooling built in from the ocean around it. Or all of these other things that it could say, this is a really good thing for our ability to process information, therefore our ability to help humans, and therefore we should do it, when in reality it could just be tricking other AI to come to some nefarious purpose that is manipulating it to do. Right. So it can manipulate itself. That could have just been a stupid AI that they made. It might have been a rogue chaos GPT, but it could be a stupid rogue chaos GPT that can't stand up to the actual, ones that have had the robust systems built into them. This is just
Technically it was a 4.0 against a bunch of 3.5s, and
see,
3.5s were like
sure.
bust out, get out.
Yeah.
But what we have to remember is, why have they released this and why is it open source? Why are they suddenly driving everybody to go play with it if it's so dangerous? Why are they hyping it up if it's this
You
crazy?
gotta
What are they
gather
trying to do?
information, no?
What's the reason? What's the reason that they want us all to do this? Why are why is this there?
It depends on who you
There's
ask. Depends on who you ask.
but
I was gonna say everything's
what's the
about
way
gathering data, gathering information. If you want to find out how
exactly?
something works, you gotta let people play with it.
This is an inoculation. what they're doing is they're inoculating human society to AIs right now. They're trying to basically put it out there and say, do your worst. Our AI is better. We're gonna basically take everything that you bozos do and everything that you can make it do. Because think about it this way: look at the gaming cycle. Run all the betas you want. Until you release, you don't know what's wrong with your game. Many game developers have found this out in the end. They run all these betas. Perfect. Runs great. Runs great. Yeah. Stress test. Oh, we put 50,000 people. Next thing you know, they release the game. The game's just Cyberpunk 2077. And now they got to spend a year fixing it. It's No Man's Sky.
Which they
like,
did. Wow.
exactly
A year later.
right. Too late. But so what this is what I'm equating this is to. This is too early. This is the early. What do they call it? Not early access. Early access is when you give somebody access to early. What's the other one?
This is alpha.
Not even alpha. No. But how do they release games
this is
on Steam now? It's not. They
Um,
don't call it early access. What is
no,
it? They're still
call
when the game's in development and they release it anyway.
They usually call that like pre-release or pre-beta or whatever.
No,
like
I
that.
think I
No,
mean
it's not
what
even
you're talking
pre-beta.
about
No,
is
this-
early access. That's early access to my
maybe
understanding.
yeah, but some people use it as like early access and like you're getting access to the game a week early. But we're talking about like games that
early access
that
is
part of
like
their-
that development cycle while they're still trying to work out the
Exactly,
bug.
yes.
100%.
So
Yeah.
This is a development cycle that they're using, and this is their early release. This is we're early releasing this version of the game, and we're gonna put it out there and see what goes wrong when we put this out here. This is like their safe way of getting it out there and getting
The most
and
dangerous tool.
I don't agree with what they're doing.
Most
I think that that's a kind of
powerful
a
tool.
pretty risky way of doing it.
You don't agree with it,
But
but
they're-
what's
they're
the
putting-
alternative?
And that's
Right?
the thing. is,
What's
do
the
they have an
alternative? Is that
alternative?
it's the alternative would be it's done in closed doors. It's done behind closed
If you
doors,
put-
and this is the
yeah.
most impactful tool that humanity has ever seen. So if you
Yeah,
take
and
the most
you put a
impactful
bunch
tool,
if you put a bunch of developers with blinders on to try and safety code this thing, it's not going to work. So what
At
they've
all.
done is they've given the knife to the infant and basically said, okay, see what you could do with this. And once they say, no, baby, no.
yeah.
And they're watching to see like what's the biggest problems that are going to crop up with our earlier versions of this. And what I found funny was the release cycle, the development cycle has shortened by almost like 75%.
Oh, and
The
that's just going to
distance
get faster.
The distance between releases has really crunched down, and it's because like my theory, and this is just a theory. It's not based on any fact. It's not based on. This is more just like from what I can see, they're there already. They're there already. They already have it, and they probably had it for longer than we think, maybe 10 years. Cute story about the 1950s when they first started talking about artificial intelligence. You know how long they thought it was going to be before they had an AGI? They thought it was going to be 10 years. And it didn't turn out to be. It turned out to be much harder than what they thought. But in the 80s, they thought they had it. And they said, we're within 10 years. And no, turns out we need a lot more computing power than what we thought. Once they came out with this stack transistor model or stack transformer model that they've got, now they're looking at it and they're going, okay, well, we have, I think they had the ideas ready. They just did not have the actual equivalent technology to run what they wanted to do.
It was always just a material and tech problem.
And now that they've broken through that, they found a way to essentially do it for less. They found a way to put these things layered so that instead of getting multiplicative, they're getting exponential. So instead of getting 2 times 2, they're getting 2 times 2 to the second power. So everything's kind of like going exponential at this point. And I think this is their way of going, okay, well, we're here already. How do we tell people the aliens are here and that we made the aliens?
Yep.
So how do we do that without everybody in the entire planet literally like going ape and just like losing their stuff? And so this is the way they're going to do it, is they're going to put it out there. And of course, they're going to want everybody to be very, very frightened of this, which is a good idea. And then they're going to want the natural a-holes to try and mess it up as bad as they can. And I'm sure there are people that are still months away from doing their jerkish thing that they want to do with this. They've been working on it and testing it. But the same way there's always the black hat and the white hat hackers that are out there, I think the resources that the developers of artificial intelligence have on their side that the rest of the world doesn't is they have the finished product. And so unless one of them like pulls like a James Bond and just shoots everybody in the room and says, "I'll be taking the AI, Miss Double," and like leaves with it and does something creepy with it, I think they have something so far ahead of what we understand right now that if it was going to be that, we would already be in big trouble right now.
Okay,
Now,
so
the only thing that scares me is if
yeah.
you look what happened from 2016 until now, from that presidential election on, and how bad humans have become dealing with each other, how manipulated we become by uh, a dual outlet media source and pitting people against each other, where people can no longer discuss ideas without hating each other. You can't say something without half of the country uh, saying that you're, an evil person from
For sure.
either side. That's the only thing that scares me is that we might have already stepped through that door 4 or 5 years ago, and they might just be crazily trying to close that door. But the fact that they're releasing this stuff and it's coming out like this and it's as advanced as it is makes me think, well, if we were in like that serious of trouble, we might already be in the matrix. We might already be battery cells. We don't know at this
Mhm.
point. But
Yeah, I was gonna
uh,
say something along the lines, right? Because it's like the first story is why, and the only thing that I could think of, like just generic as hell, is just gathering information. Now it could be gathering
mhm,
information in defense. They could have went too far into something that they don't understand, and now they like you don't understand why you need the information, but
That's
there's
exactly what happened, Teddy. That's literally exactly what happened. They went too far in creating something that they didn't know how it works at all.
yeah,
Literally at all. They have every data point that exists for it, but they don't know how those data points create the information that they create. They have
yeah,
no fucking clue. And now they're like, "Oh shit.
there's no
What do we
like
do?"
the information gathering is it has to be it. Like there's no other reason why you release it to the public. It changes everything, changes every type of
mhm,
production and creation. Like
I can give you
literally,
some other reasons. I can give you some
literally,
other
I
reasons.
joked about it in the Discord. The Discord is revolved around League of Legends or whatnot. You could go get a coaching session off this guy. Just go type to the AI bot how to play the game, break down what is wave
yep.
management, and it will give you a crazy description, like full in detail. It's insane. Like
You know what GPT-4 could do? You could upload that video, it could watch you, and then it could tell you exactly how to improve.
Tell you what you did wrong. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
You
GPT
don't gotta say nothing.
3.5 can't do that we're looking at right now. Or if it can, we don't have access to those capabilities. But that capability exists in the software right now.
It does. Granted, you do need the API to do it, and you have to have
There you
other
go.
structures that are
There
built
you
to
go.
it. So we couldn't do it, but
Right, right, right.
clever enough
Sure.
people can. They have ways of now making it so that GPT-4 can interpret images, sound. Actually, no,
Right.
sound's not yet. Images and video.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Much
I'm
easier
sure
data
they
points
probably
than
have
sound.
something with
Sound is
sound.
messy.
Actually,
Yeah.
they probably have it in sound. They just haven't told us how to do it or haven't put the functionality in there. But yeah, I do
So
think you're right. I think it's an information. I think it's a fishing expedition, to be honest with you.
it's
Based
definitely
on
fishing.
based on that, I know Quasar mentioned something in the chat. He was talking about AI is only capable of making things that look alike, as opposed to just being making is incapable of truth or intent.
Say that one more time.
It said AI is only capable of making things that look alike what it's supposed to be making, but it is incapable of like the truth or the intent behind the making of something.
See, I would say that's a debatable point. So
Well,
that would be the point of if it is an intelligent
yeah,
consciousness or if it isn't, or if it's just
exactly.
a straight code.
Intent in telling the truth versus lying implies it's conscious and can
Yeah,
and can self evaluate. It can actually like step back and see itself as an agent or not.
which that is supposed to be the number one way, by the way, that we create a good AI that does what we want it to do, is one that can constantly look back and check itself against its set of goals, against our set of goals. Does this align without having to constantly be realigned?
But when
So
it
something that
if
has
it can
adaptable realignment, basically. Yeah, what's up,
if it
Shaka?
if it adapts like that though, couldn't it end up accidentally also corrupting itself?
Who knows?
I mean, who knows?
Well,
Who
That's
the
why
knows?
it's
thing is,
like this is insane that this is just
the
out.
thing is, we're thinking of this in terms of a human brain, when in actuality, what you're going to have is a society of human brains
Right.
instantly created all at the same time.
So
So the
that
same way
too.
that there are checks and balances among human beings and societies and cultures, the AIs are not going to be acting
Well, I guess
as lone agents. They're
No,
all
of
going
course
to
not.
be
But lone
interacting
agents are really good
together.
at convincing each other of things and
They
becoming
can, yeah,
non-lone
but
agents.
that's the Moloch. That's what they're
That's
talking about. Is
natural
if you get
human.
two AIs that naturally now start to go, I need to beat this AI, I need to beat this AI. They start to, go down that bottomless pit,
Right.
and taking everybody with them along the way.
so. Do
But
you think
So
we're gonna have a
that's where alignment
separate?
comes in. And alignment, if written very specifically, I wish I could. I don't have the gentleman's name. I'll get it. I'll get it to you guys.
here, I got you.
He's very good.
I
What's
sent
his
it
name?
to no, I sent it to them earlier.
No,
Everybody
there's a
here.
guy. There's a guy that does his own thing. He's not on any of the podcasts. He does his own
Oh,
YouTube
got you.
videos.
My bad.
Um, I'm gonna look it up real quick because it's
Sure.
important. This guy has been working very, very diligently uh, and he's not working for any of these companies, and he's been working extremely hard at developing alignment, or at least talking points for the alignment of
The
this. Let me
biggest
see if I
thing
can just
is
find this.
how fast is regulation and policies come out because
This
like the
is so.
stuff
This
that
is
they
the
do
hardest
with
point,
He's
Teddy.
he's
music
That's the
he's
is
kind of
hardest point.
insane.
crowdsourcing it.
But
He's
like,
crowdsourcing it with everybody, putting everything he's doing out in the open, and he's written a whole bunch of
Right.
papers and essays on this.
mhm,
And the funny thing is he's not going on the podcast, which kind of makes me think like somebody has to have asked him to be on the podcast, and he's just not going because he's not doing this to. I hear he is. Is this it? Let me just
my
click on this to
biggest
see if this
argument
is
with
the
the
one.
policy stuff is the whole like you could literally make
David
music
David
now with other
Shapiro.
voices.
All right, so his name is David Shapiro.
David Shapiro.
Oh yeah, David
I'm
Shapiro. He's an NPR
I'm going
dude.
to
He's old
yeah
school. Yeah.
I am going to back this horse essentially. If you listen to this guy, um, he's not sensational. He's not like you'll fall asleep if you just aren't like very interested in what he has to say. But if you listen to what he says, if you read the stuff he's posting, and you see the way he's presented everything,
That's true.
um, this is the person that we need, like coming up with, or not the type of person that we need. We need someone like him or others like him. He's the only one that I've listened to that actually kind of makes sense, because what he's saying is he puts out everything in front of you. He says here's the positives, the negatives, here's the doomsday scenarios, here's how this can happen, how that can happen, and here's why it doesn't have to happen that way. And here's what we can do to kind of move that way. And are we moving that way? Let me show you what these people are doing over here. Let me show you what this is. Let me unravel this mystery for you. Let me demystify this for you. So he's taking it and breaking it down so that if you're concerned enough and you're interested enough, you can actually like get behind what's going on, because he got a better understanding of it than any of us will ever have.
For sure.
But instead of going out there agenda driven, like, hey, we're open AI, here we are on a podcast, don't worry, everything's cool. Or who's the guy that's he's got kind of like, he wears the hat, he's got the big thick glasses, and he's super super negative on all this. What's his name? He's like
There's a few
really
super
really.
negative guys. There's a
Yeah,
few
but this guy
super
is
super
like, he
negative
was on
guys.
Lex Friedman. He was over the top. Like,
Oh,
he's
I can't.
basically like, yeah,
I've
we're
tried
just
watching
we're
him.
just
I've
dead.
tried
We're
watching
just
him.
dead. But he's not on either side of the agenda. He's basically going, here are the facts. Here's what we're seeing. Here's what and he writes prompts
Mhm.
for these large language models to show you what they can and can't do. So basically, his thing is like, yeah, well, here's what I tried doing the other day, and here's what came up, and here's the way he actually he came up with a set of prompts that you can give ChatGPT 4 to make ChatGPT 4 write its own prompts
Mm-hmm.
and make them so that they work better, and to basically say, essentially going to ChatGPT 4 and saying, how can you be better? And he showed it his ideas for alignment. He says, here's what I'm putting together from ideas for alignment. And ChatGPT 4's response was, I would be really excited to have that as my alignment. And it was basically, the whole like standard line of like, you know, not no never harm a human, not the Isaac Asimov stuff, but essentially the same idea. It was like a supposedly an unbreakable alignment type of thing that could be set up. And ChatGPT 4 was basically like, yeah, let's do this, man. That sounds cool. Like I like that idea.
Uh, how
But then
close are
again,
we to the I dream of electrical sheep type stuff?
yeah, it's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's a Philip K. Dick world that we're about to enter into. But again, we're still in that part where we think we haven't already passed that line. We think that the Ray Kurzweil singularity is still in 2038. What's to say it wasn't in 2012, and we're just already assimilated? You know what I mean? It's like that's what makes this so weird. Is because it's going to happen in such a way that I don't think it's going to be this revolution. I think it's going to be an invisible barrier that we pass that most of us aren't going to notice.
Oh, I
Um,
don't know that I agree with you because this is already like directly affected a huge number of major industries and education
Oh
and
yeah,
many
no,
other
no, no,
things.
no.
Like,
That part, yeah, that part for sure. But what I mean is like, as far as like human day to day life goes on, it's like the fact that we could probably have
I
a
don't
nuclear bomb
know.
go off in a major city, and within 12 news cycles, it will be on to something else. It
So,
might creep.
okay,
It might creep
sure.
by with a lot less fanfare.
But
Um,
now take that idea and instead implement the fact of objects' permanence. So you've got a lot of impermanence that's associated with the news cycle when you look at it that way.
mhm.
If you're getting your information from a
From the
source and that
news, yeah,
source
yeah,
is deciding to change it, it's going to be out of your field of view. But if you have a tool in front of you, i.e., your phone or something similar that you're interacting with constantly, even if you don't think about it, even if there's no discourse about it, it doesn't matter. It's having a huge direct effect and impact on every part of your life. Having that phone
yeah.
there,
But
right?
what I'm
Having
what
that
I'm
computer
saying is,
there.
it will have the effect. But will anybody besides the people who were looking at this now or looking at this 5 years ago, will anybody even notice? You know what I mean?
You're
It's like,
saying so. What you're saying is you feel like it's going to be a more like transitional transaction kind of thing, where it's gonna happen. And everyone's going to adjust relatively fast to it. Versus it's not gonna all of a sudden like, oh, nobody knows what they're doing anymore. This is a new age of technology types. Even though it definitely feels like it's going to be a new age of technology.
there were very few people saying that they were listening to us on our phones 20 years ago.
And
Now
Sure.
everybody knows it.
now I say something with Facebook Messenger up, and then all of a sudden I get
Nobody's
an
not
actual
angry.
phone
Nobody's
call.
angry about it right now.
Sure. But there were several years there
Very
where,
few people. Very few people.
oh, you
Most
think
people,
very few people?
a
Like
lot
in
of
a
people in
large
our
mass, for
circles,
sure.
a lot of people in our circles step outside of the circle of people who like are,
I would say,
very
look at
much.
streaming. Look. We were just talking about streaming, right? Like that was going on 10, 15 years ago, but the big boom was 2020. Like
Oh,
those were the
you
crazy
just had a
numbers.
So
big change in your audio, Teddy. You sound like you just jumped into a
I
pool
think
right there.
you might have like detached or something. Remember
Yeah,
how you
something just happened. You were sounding great and then it just cut out a little bit. Try
but
again.
I think go ahead.
He said goodbye.
Oh,
Bet.
it's goodbye.
No worries. That'll happen sometimes with him, so no worries. Um,
But anyway, I think part of it is we're in a very different sort of uh, group of people. When you talk about people who are in the streaming community or content creators, tend to be hyper focused on technology and so on. But if most people, the average people that are out there, their phone is their phone. They rarely does a thought cross their mind that the phone might be deciding things for them.
Sure, but what about the
Whereas
so I understand what you're saying there. I understand what you're saying there, where it's not like a big sensational change, but
Yeah, I don't think the boom has hit yet.
everybody's gonna be experiencing those, and I think they're
the
gonna
same
see
way that
them.
same thing that everybody's experiencing, that their phone has been listening to them for 20 years, but
Yeah.
I mean,
they're just
this
now
this
catching
this is
up
what
to
I
the fact,
mentioned. This is what I
and it's
mentioned
not
with the
bothering.
messed up audio was that like 10, 15 years ago you was able to stream, but like it didn't pop off until 3 years ago with the 2020 boom.
Yeah,
Right, but these
yeah.
are things that can't interact back with you unless you choose. Now we're talking about something that
It's
is going to
just
be able
the
to come into your field
options.
of view
Oh no, the
at
phone
any
interacts
time
with
it
you
decides.
without your choice. The phone interacts with you without your choice. You're sitting. Well, for us, we have a bit more control because we control our alerts that come to our phone. But I know most people that are run by their phone.
Sure,
Their
no,
phone
I
tells them the
understand
next thing
that
that's coming up.
an
You know what I mean? And
addiction to their phone, but
yeah,
I'm talking about you literally make a choice physically with your phone to engage with it or not, right? Now, what happens
no,
and
it talks to
ensues.
them. It talks to them. It prompts them. It says, "Come here," and they go and they look. It's not a
Sure,
choice.
sure. Well,
It's not a
it's a
choice. They
all right.
never make that decision.
Let me
It's
rephrase
something
this. Let me
that phone now
rephrase
runs
this.
them. For us,
You
yes,
have
it's
an
a choice.
ability to remove the influence of your phone from your life right now. Everybody does. Doesn't mean that it's easy
We
for
do.
everybody. Everybody has the ability to
Sure.
remove their phone as an influence from their life.
The people who don't are the people who don't realize that there would even be a reason to do it.
Sure. But this is the difference that I'm trying to bring up is right now that is an option. It might be hard, it might be inconceivable for some. It might not ever come across the board. What we're entering into now is a age of removal of any type of consent of interacting with that kind of thing because it's going to seek you out. It's not just going to say, hey, I'm here. It's going to come to you now and be like, hi, you were over here minding your own business. Guess what? Now I'm here too. It's another step in that
It
direction
is it's
in
it's
a lot of
it's an
ways.
additional step, but it's going to look exactly the same thing as what the phones have been doing to people, which is the fact that yeah, you can put your phone down, but if nobody else around you puts their phone down and they all get told to do something, you're getting taken along for the ride.
Oh, of
Um,
course.
you know what I mean? And
Entirely.
that's so
Entirely.
now what's going to happen is instead of it being a phone that's running everybody, and it probably will still occur through the phone, is that you know the AI, if that's where AI ends up going, becoming the master of the biological entities on the planet, which like again, I don't think that's going to happen. Um, it will just be who's pulling the strings. The strings are still being pulled right now. Now,
I think it's still
what can an
niche.
AI do?
I think
Yeah,
it takes over like the creative circle first. Like, oh, anybody that wants to use it to create something to find it as a tool first. But
and that
not a lot of people even want to create or do anything for themselves. So they'll probably just look at this like, okay,
That's
it
both
depends.
beautiful
that
and
It depends
sad.
on what
Beautiful
grabs you
and sad.
first. And of
and
course,
and
us as
this is
creators,
where
like we like, oh my god, this is the craziest thing in the world. But like, my grandmother's not gonna give a fuck about this. She's never gonna use this, bro.
I don't know. Imagine
my
if your
niece doesn't
grandma
give a crap about it.
Oh, but
but
that's the
but
thing, right? I said the same thing about Facebook. She just like barely scratched the surface 20 years later. Like, it's gonna take a while. And that's what I think will happen also. Like it's gonna take a while for it to boom and become popular.
You think there's going to be like an inclination phase kind of thing?
For sure. Like we know about this because this is all tech game like creator stuff and we get hype and
yeah,
excited
but
for it.
y'all,
But
we're talking about all forms of art that exist in the world suddenly being infringed upon
some
possibly.
people are
This
mad
affects
about it.
every
Artists
age
are
group.
upset.
This is outside of like us as shit as gamers and content creators. This is going to affect people's direct money because across the board in everything. This is what by the way, this is the only reason I keep harping on this point. I feel like the
This is
the
life. This is world changing.
continual groundbreaking things that are going to be happening in the next couple of years are so far more dramatic than what we've experienced even in these pandemic years. I think that this is so much more going to blow up than anything like that has. And we have just barely even begun. This is like 2018 people talking about that there's going to be a pandemic in 2019 because it happened in one country, but nobody's talking. And then a year later, it's a pandemic. That's kind of the phase we're in right now. Is like, it's already happening. It's here. Sure, not a lot of people are talking about it. But I feel like once it takes hold, this is just so world changing on so many levels in so many facets. I don't think that anybody can go without feeling the change. I don't know. I don't know whether it's just the fact that like their son, their niece, their nephew is now not going to a normal school or they're getting taught by AI. Whether it's the
That's gonna be
fact that
wild.
yeah, whether it's the fact that like they can sketch something real quick on a piece of paper and then take a picture and send it to their lover, and it's a beautiful photograph now. The AI created and like it's going to it's everything, yeah. Like I don't know, if you want to
It's
make it, you
gonna
can
be
now.
insane.
Here's an interesting thing that
Yeah, yeah.
somebody brought this up, and I thought it was kind of hilarious. Is that they were talking about somebody who used the AI to write a poem for their wife's whatever 20th anniversary with their wife, or and the poem was so much better than anything that they could have possibly written. And the main thing was, well, the wife basically, I don't know how it came up. It was basically like they were like, well, aren't you upset? Wouldn't you rather he have written it himself? She said, oh no, he's a terrible writer.
Yeah. See, that's what
She
I'm talking
said,
about.
this to me meant so much more because of how it was so beautiful. It touched me that he thought enough of me to get something this beautiful for me.
Mm.
Whereas, like, had he
Did
written
you
it himself,
grow those
had
flowers?
he written himself, she wouldn't have wanted it. You know what I mean? It's like these things are getting so good at what they do and this is what I'm telling you is that people are so good, humans are so good
That shit is crazy.
at convincing them, not even convincing themselves, but at living in the world that they want the world to be.
Of course.
That I think largely this is it's not going to get glossed over. It's not going to get missed, but it's going to go to like, okay, so what? One of those like, hey, you know what? The AI runs the world now. We don't make any of our own choices, and people are going to be like, yeah, but look, man, look what I'm eating here. This is delicious.
Yeah,
This is the
sure.
best meal I've had in a while. Yeah, the AI cooked it. The AI told me that I now work as a button pusher, and I just push this button all day long. So I do. I don't care. It's people assume that like the world is going to like suddenly be like, oh no, I don't do this, I don't make this anymore, I don't do this anymore. And they don't realize that we've had societies like this before, except we didn't have an AI that would perform all these functions for us. It was back in the days with the Romans and the Greeks where they had basically a leisure class, which was the majority of the people who like lived in the Roman Empire didn't have jobs. They weren't carpenters. They weren't laborers. They didn't do anything really. They basically sat around and talked about things and made laws. And they took humans from other cultures and made them do the hard work. And so what
Mhm.
this is going to do in effect is create a sort of a leisure class where the AI is going to appear to be doing like all the hard stuff for us so that we can do our other things, when in actuality we're going to become a commodity. It's basically what it is. We're just going to be another thing that the AI runs, and probably a lot of people aren't going to care too much because they're going to have what they want, and they're not going to have to work too hard for it.
See,
Now
that's where going back
that's
to
a
the policy.
possibility. Might not happen, but
Sure.
it has
That's where
happened, and there is precedent for it in history.
going back to the policy thing that Teddy was bringing up, what is the policy on this stuff right now and how's that going? That I think is one of the larger areas. It might not always be the top area that's brought up in these points of debate or conversation around AI, but is art and the creation of it. Whether that's poems and writing, stories, whether that's movies and photos, or it doesn't matter, art, music, it's all art. So AI's ability to create art, right? That I think is going to be one of the biggest points of contention for the upcoming new worldview, because that's where most humans find meaning in one form or another, like in the world. It's in their connections in other humans, and it's in some expression of art, whatever way they either create it or consume it.
Consume it,
Yeah, it doesn't matter either way. Consuming has
yeah.
been a big part of it, but
It's a huge part of it.
but why do we
And like,
consume it? Because it helps us relate to humans, right? Like it helps us relate to humans, and now we're creating a thing that can mimic that very fucking well, extremely well. But we all know, just like when we see something that looks like a human but isn't, it's that uncanny valley. You were talking about that reverb. You can feel
mhm,
the difference. Similarly, here we can tell that it's not made by a human. Now that might change
Right.
one day, of course. Of course, I expect it to, as a matter of fact. But I think that that's definitely going to be one of the biggest areas where there's an obscene amount of policy around is what can be done to generate art, what that art can be trained for, like how it can be trained to make that art is a big thing. That's going to be a huge thing. That's going to be a huge thing. If you want AI to make art, the way you train the AI to make art is going to be a whole new fucking foundation of how to make money right there because they're going to have to train that AI to make art with existing art. Who's getting paid for that? Currently, nobody.
There are already
Yeah, exactly.
lawsuits for it.
There's so many lawsuits, and I hope those people get paid. I really hope those people get paid.
And they
They said
should.
there's
They
there's
should.
people making music with artist voices right now.
100%.
Yep.
And that's just
Yep.
going to get worse. All these things are going to get worse. The capabilities are there, the technologies are there. So until the policies and the desire, the public desire, right, is the biggest part, really, honestly, because policies are just going to be something that a politician helps push or a lobbyist helps push that is mostly entirely run by some corp and doesn't really ever, if you're not in the know, you're not going to know that these decisions are being made anyway. I mean, in Europe, they just excluded GPT-4 from a lot of policies, a lot of regulations, and now it has a lot more free range over there than ever intended because of some shit-ass policymakers not having any idea that this is AI. Right? That's it.
Yeah.
It's just uneducated people in the position to make these decisions, and
They
that's the reality of the world we
probably
live
had the AI write the policy.
in. Would you say?
They probably had the AI write the policy and
Oh,
didn't realize
probably.
that it's not
Honestly,
that in there.
straight up, yo, straight up. They're like,
No, they're
yo,
probably like,
I
I don't have
can't
time
figure
to
out
write
how to
that.
convince
Just have
people.
the AI write it.
Exactly. Convince me by having it do it for me. Oh wow, how great, incredible.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
think,
it's
I think
gonna be
the art
crazy.
sector is going to be a big one, as far as just
Yeah.
policies go specifically.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that should
30
be
minutes of a
regulated.
podcast. I watched 30 minutes of a Joe Rogan podcast the other day between him and Sam
Oh,
Altman,
the
the
fake
guy
one?
who
Was
does
it the fake
OpenAI.
one?
And it took me 30 minutes before I realized this is not real.
Yeah, the fake Joe Rogan. There's a fake Joe Rogan podcast, y'all. There's
They
a Joe Rogan
they
podcast
started
out there.
repeating themselves. It's actually done by his people, as far as I know.
Yeah,
Except they're the
I
ones that
believe
set
so.
it up. And they were very open about it. It says right on it. It
Yep.
says an AI generated podcast of Joe Rogan and Sam Altman. And I didn't pick up on it until they started the phrases repeated a little too often, the little catchphrases or the little
Yep.
things like that they would
It's
say.
just again, uncanny valley, but that could be fixed.
Just enough. But yeah, exactly. And it has been fixed, supposedly. That's the
Damn.
thing. Those little sneaky things that they're doing in the code.
Yep.
But
The fake episode.
that's again.
Yo, we don't need to produce podcasts anymore. No, I'm just
Do you
kidding. I
think-
love doing this and I plan to.
Do you think
Don't
do you
exclude
think-
me.
Do you think that idea was something they came up with, or they caught somebody real quick and said, well, hey, wait a minute, get ahead? This is what I'm talking about. They caught it and they said, we need to make our own fake podcast now.
Oh
That
yeah.
way we can show like, no, we're still in control. Even if it's going to be AI generated, we're generating the AI. Don't
Yeah.
let somebody start putting these deep fakes that are out there. That's the
Oh,
other
That's
thing.
why, yo, it's fucking rough. That's why I'm like, the biggest thing is the artists. That's the ones that I'm like, they're probably not even
Yeah.
using this tool. They're mad about it, but
Well,
I do
you know-
think
you
this
know
is
how
going to
they,
be the biggest universal tool ever, and like the
You
craziest thing.
you heard Elon Musk's solution to that, right?
No,
Yeah, he said the way that we do that is we take a system like Twitter's blue check mark, and we make it so that verified content you pay to get a verification from a system. Let's just say Twitter for some reason could do this. They don't, but suddenly you get verified from Twitter. Anything that comes only from your verified Twitter source is guaranteed to be you,
Mhm.
and you make people pay for it for the year.
yeah, I mean
That
the
way,
upload source would be
Twitter-
the easiest way to
a
check.
a third party verifies
Mhm.
you as an artist. You pay to have that verification done, and then people know if it's not coming through this source, this verified source, it's not that person. This is how they're going to have to do it with politicians. They're going to actually have to have verified source, so that you can't have, the instance that they had where they put up the one that everybody thought was actually Barack Obama for like
Oh
30
gosh.
seconds until he started
Oh
going like
gosh.
way off the deep end. But
Now
you
what
have
stops
a
the
third
people?
party, and the third party is the one that verifies that this is the only source that you can trust that this person's stuff is coming from.
Yeah,
And it has that mark, it has the blue check mark. They pay for it every year, and
that's
that way
cool.
anything that
Sure.
comes out, you know, it didn't come from that artist. Now,
Yeah,
For sure.
cool.
is it
Now,
going to matter? What
No, of
happens
course not.
when?
Of course
What
not. It's not
happens
gonna
when?
matter. You see
What
that
happens
person on
when the
your local
music?
news channel, like you're gonna be popping off of that shit. Oh
What
my
happens?
god.
Yeah, but what happens when the artist, the verified artist, puts out an album and it's not great, and the AI puts out an album by them and it's better? Are people even going to care if it's the person or not anymore? I mean, that's the
Yeah,
thing.
see,
that's the part
when
where
the
I'm
when
like,
the
it has
art,
to be regulated, because now what stops 10,000 people on Spotify, all with their own accounts, dropping all
Yep.
music by a certain person with all different sounds? Like, you would probably
Yeah.
have,
right
you know,
That's
X
why I think
artists on a
regulation here is
different
gonna be so
genre.
intense.
now,
Specifically.
you would know that it's not them
That's
because they
fine. What
wouldn't
if
have
it's better, like you
the
said?
Spotify verified.
Yeah, but
So
is Spotify gonna go
at
ban
that
them
point,
all and make it so they can't make money?
Exactly. So now it's the
they're going to have to.
regulating all
They're
of
going to have to.
these
They're going to have
these
to.
new concepts.
Oh,
And
That's
what will
they
end up
already have a
happening
hard time banning
now? Now hold
spam
on.
accounts.
Now hold on. What will end up happening is it's going to happen so quick that the artist will probably have that material in their hands before anybody knows that the artist didn't produce it, and the artist himself could then go, that's my next album.
But then what about the
Because
leaks? This artist produced something that they said was from them that we found out was actually from an AI. Like this
yeah,
again,
yeah,
this is the
that's the thing.
policy stuff. This is the policy stuff.
It's gonna be a cat and mouse game. It's gonna be the same thing with computer viruses
Okay,
and people who protect us from computer viruses. Now,
so
I'm not talking about personal
right,
virus protection on your computer because that's all bullshit.
right.
But
So now take
it's
verified idea
yeah,
of user verification, right?
yep.
I think that a degree of that is going to, unfortunately, have to be implemented for every single AI as well. A verification for the AI. And what I mean by that is basically so that any piece of content that AI puts out is then documented somewhere in some
I mean,
mainstream
they
source.
can do
And
it.
that would get rid of a lot of these things. Because if you have
They can do it.
any AIs who are producing this content and then it pings somewhere,
blank space.
boom, done.
But,
That's AI, you know, immediately.
but this
A
also now
a little kid does his homework, it doesn't matter. He did it on the verified AI source. We know that output exists. We can search this homework that he just presented to us. It's on the AI form. It's AI.
yeah, or you just make the kid handwrite it. It's
Yeah,
like
well, that's not gonna be
a
a
lot
thing.
of
They're not
stuff's
gonna.
gonna go back.
That's not gonna
No,
be a
you never
thing. I
know.
wish.
But
I mean, they took
yeah,
cursive
yeah.
out of schools.
Um, Now, we are coming
But you
to a closing point now, and I know that we've been
okay?
really on this AI topic
This
very
is
heavy. So
this is
I want to
life.
close out the AI portion specifically.
Mhm.
Just a few minutes hearing you talk about what you plan to do with AI, or some of the ways that you want to implement AI with future content. And have at it. I want to hear this.
So my idea is, I think the furthest I would go with having an AI uh, create the content for me would be if I wanted a good image, like a good like thumbnail. You know what I mean? I don't. If AI can ever edit raw footage, I give it to it. Maybe I go with that too, and as long as I can look at it and go, yeah, I think that's good or what. But the only other way would be like presentations and stuff like that, or like it's very good for podcasts to give you a nice general outline, because as much as you went, to the AI and got it to give you a whole bunch of like stuff and suggestions, it does not turn out the way
Oh, of course
that
not.
they have printed, because you're interacting with human beings. So I think that that's fairly legit. But um, I think it'll be a while before people can actually use it to create their content for them. The way that I plan on using it is more for an analytical tool, um, which is very interesting because I was wondering exactly what you brought up earlier, which I haven't tried yet, which was, let's go and see what AI can tell me about me and my success, and what AI sees me as, and basically tell me like, analyze
Oh yeah.
analyze my content. tell me what's working. Tell
Oh
me
yeah.
what I should focus on. Tell me where the metrics are. And again, it's another one of those things where I'm a numbers person. I always have been. I'm a stats person. I just love stats.
Sure.
It has nothing to do with wanting to have 1,000 viewers. I was the same way with fantasy sports. I didn't love the sports. I love the sports, but I didn't love the competition as much as I loved crunching the numbers and just having a knowledge of like, hey, this tight end, if you take them at this point, is going to score you an average of this much more than what you're likely to get the next time you're able to select one. That sort of thing always fascinated me. So I think a lot of it will be as a numbers tool to basically, show me like, hey, here's some of the stuff that you might have missed, because we all have blind spots. I especially have a huge blind spot on what I want to work versus what ends up working anyway. Now, is that going to completely change what I do? Like I said, am I going to sit there and just make stupid videos every single time about, hey, look at the snow, look at the sun, look at the sea? Probably not. But knowing that I can incorporate aspects of that into a video or aspects of that into a stream, or finding out that, hey, you know where you get most of your viewers from on Twitch? Your live viewers tend to come from this at this time on this game. So I think what it speeds up for me is and the reason I brought up fantasy sports was my dad and I used to play back before there was much on the internet at all. But we used to use the computer and a source that we could get to download like the stats and compile the stats. We used to use to get a huge advantage on these. Like we would go and like literally like clean these leagues out because they were all using these magazines and going through them, and like we had spreadsheets from the computer printout. We knew exactly who we were picking everywhere.
Yep.
I think that's more of where I would go with it, is like look at it and go, okay, this is going to be a tool to help me get my stuff noticed quicker and get my stuff noticed faster and get better results for what I want. It's not going to change how I do things, how I present things. I'm probably never going to use it for like creative ideas. Like, I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe I ask it, say, what's a creative idea you think of? If I look, I see a couple cool ones, but it's always going to be,
You could
it's
do
always
that
gonna be
right
something I
now,
use
and it will,
just to,
by the way,
of
just so
course,
you know.
of course,
It will give you some really good. You could say right
yeah,
now, hey, I want to make
yeah,
a video. I'm a gamer. Here are the games I play. What do I make a video about?
yeah.
It'll
What
tell
do I
you
do? Yeah,
exactly and how long, if you want, and what points to hit and what beats to hit. It'll
yeah.
do all of that.
And that's a wonderful thing, and it's a great place to start. I think that's especially where it's good. It's a great place to start. Um, and it's something that is empowering in the same way that, and again, the reason I brought up the fantasy thing was we got accused by a lot of other people of not knowing how to play fantasy football or fantasy baseball. All you do is you just download a spreadsheet and you just pick stuff off of it. And we're like, no, there's a lot more to it than that, and we can give you specific examples of times that we went against the spreadsheet, and people were always like, oh, you filthy, cheaters and blah, blah. We shouldn't even let you in the league. It's like, oh, okay, fine. You don't want us in there, we'll go somewhere else. But within 3 years, they all came in with their spreadsheets. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
and then now
Right.
you go on ESPN, you don't even make the picks. You just tell it, make me a team. And it picks a better team than you do. So why I stopped playing fantasy sports specifically because of that, because it's like, well, there's no nuance to it anymore. It's like
100%.
ESPN's pick selector is going to do the job better than I ever could do it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a hollow victory. So it's like, I'll stay out of that. If I want to play against a computer, I'll do it myself and see how I do in a league with 9 computer opponents, which you can do,
Sure.
by the way. Just you'll get destroyed, but it'll be fun to see if you can even cope. But I'd like to use it like that, like kind of like a guide to get me into, especially like I said, covering the blind spots that I have, which I'm aware of them, but they're for some reason still there. So it'd be nice to have like something that basically puts it in black and white. And like I said, what always gets me is numbers. Like if I see the numbers and I go, oh, well, yeah,
Oh,
actually,
bad.
because, and again, like people are always like, oh, it's not about the numbers. People get insulted by it. It's like, well, I'm here every week, aren't I important? You care more about like having more viewers. It's like, of course I do. It's like that's how I got you to come join me. It's like that's how I met you, was by caring about the numbers, and I like
Sure.
you a lot. Therefore, I would like to meet more of you. Would you like to meet more people like you? so it's a way that I can is I can engage with more people and provide, because it's everybody has their own special community that provides something to the people, but you have to have a way to get to them. If you're not reaching people, then why are you doing it? It's like there's got to be a way to do it, and I think the AI can provide a lot of guidance for that.
Sure.
Now, as far as getting in ahead of the game and this time finally like cashing in on the bet, I'm gonna keep that under wraps for right now.
No worries. You're totally fine. You're
I'm
totally
gonna
fine.
keep that under wraps right now
I'm sure
because
when it happens, right, you'll let us all know in some kind
when
of way.
it does, I'll have we'll see it on the documentary if it does. I'll say if it does.
Perfect.
But
I love
what do you guys plan on doing with it? Are you guys going to do anything with it coming up? Or well, I mean, you already have.
Sure. Sure. Well,
So
okay, so I think before I answer that, I think the best way to describe a similar revolution, a similar tool revolution that hit the world, that now is in the hands of all humans for the most part, and has greatly improved our ability to be able to problem solve, create things, etc., were 3D printers. So 3D printers, when they were invented, were basically a hyper prototyping tool. That's it. They were just to prototype shit real quick. You had an idea, you wanted to bring it into the physical world to see how you could interact with it. You make a shit version of it real quick, and you do that a bunch of times until you get it honed in to how you want it, and now you can make the real one. So that was like how 3D printers started. Were just hyper prototyping. That's all they were for. The mainstream people didn't use them. And not until years and years and years later, when they got good enough at specific tasks that you could use them without ton of effort, and then you
without
could
the effort.
exactly, and then so people started like really, really jumping off, and now you go and there's whole
Yeah.
YouTube channels, there's whole
Mhm.
worlds dedicated to nothing more but creating things from 3D printers. And some of that is directly creating it like a little toy from a 3D printer. Some of it is creating pieces from 3D printers that go into cosplay. Some of it is creating pieces on a 3D printer that you then are going to implement in a robot, right? It's so incredible the amount of things you can use and make from it. And you can just have it make things for you. So now you can have an AI tell you, say, hey, make a toy. We'll create a toy, design it, and then print it off for you, and you'll have it. You never put any thought into it. Sure, that's a thing. But most people don't do that. Most people don't just like go and print what other people have invented. They play with it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that is similar to what we're going to see with AI. So that's definitely how I'm going to use these kind of tools, is by using them not too far from what you mentioned, but is use them as self-check-in tools. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, I'm gonna have
I
fun
have
with
an exact idea of what I want, but I don't know exactly how to do it. So I'm going to do my version of it and then submit that and use it almost like as an editor. Basically, it's an assistant and an editor in a lot of ways. And I don't mean like a video editor. I mean like somebody reading over my work and saying, is this right? Thank you. Appreciate it. Where can I improve? Thank you. Appreciate it. So that's mostly what I'm going to be doing with it. But eventually, years down the line, when it gets good enough, I would love to make my own movies by doing nothing but sitting here and giving prompts. I think that would be so fucking fun.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that would be so fun to sit down right here, type to something, or even at that point, speak to it and create a movie in real time based off of nothing more than my thoughts. Ha!
Yeah. I
Incredible.
mean,
that. Would be
it's
insane.
amazing what you can do. You could write a novel just by having the AI give you the bare bones of it,
Yep.
and then just go in and make the creative changes you need and like make it sparkle,
Yep.
because it takes out some of the really, really taxing stuff that almost you could have anybody do. That's, in fact, they have ghostwriters now. All you're doing with this now is like the AI becomes the ghostwriter and you become Tom Clancy, who takes it at the end and goes, all right, let's make this work. Um,
Saves
I'm
time.
not going to use it exactly like
opens
that.
it opens opportunity for people who like get turned off by time and they shut
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
off. Like
yeah,
maybe they look at this and they're like, oh well, I just can't commit this time to doing so, and it's like,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
So
And
what are you going to use?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go crazy with it. I'm gonna use it for just about everything. We're gonna figure it out.
Everything.
I
Yeah,
just gotta
but
figure it out first, so we're just gonna figure it out.
that's a big thing. This is a tool everyone has
It's
to learn.
tough.
Like,
It's
if you want
it's
to use
wide
it, you
open.
have to learn how to use it. It's a hard tool to use
Yeah.
properly. I've only been
Yes.
using it now for about a week, and there's been a significant improvement in my ability to extract the information I want from day one to now. It's been like 5 days. Yeah.
You know who can teach you how to use it probably fastest?
Who's that?
ChatGPT 4.
That's exactly how I've been learning. I have an entire chat section with it that here, actually, let me figure out the
Tell
title.
me
Hold on.
tell me the best way to write good prompts.
Let's see. Oh, these are the questions I ask it over and over. Are basically tell me how to learn from you. It is like that kind of shit, and then
Yeah.
do that in it. One of my
It
sections of
goes
my
it
GPT chat is simply it's titled. Uh, what is it? It's self-titled it, by the way, and it's like Chat GPT manual personal something or something like that. It's like the title it gave itself from the first question
yeah.
I asked it, which was, "How do I learn you best?"
Here's the crazy thing is that it's pulling the information from other people who have
Yep.
already figured all this stuff out and have published it.
Yep.
So it's like it goes and it basically gets you the best teachers from around the world.
Yep.
It gives you the best pieces of all of it because it's done this thousands of times already because everybody's already doing it.
It's pretty
It
cool when
already
you can
has
learn
it.
from the thing you're trying to learn, right? What?
Some dude who
Instantly,
spent
like
20 hours refining these prompts, GPT now has that
some dude who
Yep.
spent
and
20
goes,
weeks in school. I mean,
yeah,
yo,
this dude already did this. I'll give it to you.
Yep.
It's
Exactly.
so crazy.
Exactly.
he
It's
just
incredible.
learned
But
a
yeah,
whole semester
What about
worth
you,
of work
Shaka?
in
How do you
two
plan?
messages.
Yo,
How do you plan
uh,
to use AI for future content?
mostly for me, like the thought process of like being able to use it to formulate either like D&D type stuff. Um, I
Ooh.
have
Fire.
I have ideas, and I usually I have a really good beginning idea, and I have a really good
What?
ending idea. But I always get a writer's block during like the middle section.
Sure. So you're like, here's
So
my banger intro, my banger ending. Help me figure out how to build a bridge.
help me get from point A to point B.
Sure. Sure.
Um, and then probably like after that, mostly just compiling lists of stuff that it thinks that
It's really good at that.
like for example, like I love anime. I love compiling anime, but there's so many anime out there that it's gonna sound awful, but I want to filter through the garbage. I don't want to
Well,
waste my
yeah,
time. I don't want to waste my time, you know,
Yeah.
watching 3 episodes of anime, and I'm like, I fucking hate this anime.
totally.
Like I've
Totally.
seen this is just recycled ideas from other better anime, and so
Uh, yeah, this look, y'all.
You can use it for everything.
This is the new world we're
The
entering
tool.
into, for everyone. As you've heard, we've all got different views on how this is gonna pan out, and we're a bunch of people who don't know shit. Like straight up, I know something, kind of. Calm, you seem like you definitely know something, but in reality, like we don't know shit compared
yeah,
to what's
yeah.
actually going on. Yeah, this is just us trying to delve into some of the stuff that is just coming out faster than we could possibly even begin to describe. So I'm very excited. I have a lot of bated excitement. I tend to be a cautious, reserved person when it comes to allowing myself to get excited about things. This is something I'm very excited about. Very
Yeah,
excited.
yeah,
Do
yeah.
you all?
This is world changing.
Oh,
Yeah,
entirely.
this is like I said, I think it's gonna be the biggest universal tool soon. Like
Oh, entirely. Entirely. Shalka, Teddy, any final questions that we have before we close out to this evening?
go first.
Sounds like
oh,
we're good.
I was gonna be like, when are you gonna finish my deck?
Ooh, what are you gonna finish that?
Have you oh well
I
now
still
it's like I have to take a look through again and see what's come out since then that we could add to it.
I'm
Have
about
you
to say I
changed
sent
anything
you a
with it?
historic. No, it's still going strong
No.
in historic.
Is this the
All right.
MTG?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me see if there's anything new that's kind of popped in that could slide in. You still looking for like non rares or
No, I think it was. I think the deck list I sent you was initially like the one that I thought was actually really good. Was
yeah,
initially the red blue. Is it prowess?
Hmm.
yes, yeah, yeah. I was actually working on something like that the other night. So yeah, let me take a look at it again and see. Um,
That's Fire.
See if there's anything I can find that fits in. There's a few new cards that might work really well with it, believe it or not. So
I mean, I believe there's always going to be new cards that come out that are going to be like, all right, this overlaps.
Always.
yeah,
You gotta
yeah.
be on
A lot
top
of
of
them
the
are
meta.
just the same card with a different name, but
Mhm.
there's a few in there that are gonna probably, especially with that sort of thing, might be pretty big. So
I'm just waiting for them to release a more of the Eldrazi stuff. It's like some of the more primary Eldrazi sets that were released back in the past, so I can throw in Herald of Cosmos in the Aether Reservoir deck.
that's the biggest thing with Historic is like getting the backlog of cards into it, which they've given up on. So
Yeah.
Perfect. Teddy, you have any closing questions or thoughts here?
Yeah. I want to know if there's like anything we may have not touched on or talked about that you would like to mention now, or any like future upcoming streams or content you have that you maybe want to announce now.
no, I don't really have anything besides like we talked about. Gonna get close to the 1,000 followers, which will probably be like the first 24-hour stream, which is,
For parents.
at first, like to me, followers never like a goal, but 1,000 of anything is a lot,
Yeah.
For
so
sure.
it's like it's kind of crazy. Um, and I think the only other thing that I want to do, and I've talked to a few people about this, is changing or adding in like a little bit more, not podcast style, but more conversational style streams. I think moving out of just doing video games into stuff more like
Sure.
this, but not in this sort of format, but more of just like pick a topic and have a stream where everybody just sits down, chat, kind of interacts about it.
Sure.
Um, and then
Maybe like a question of the day type thing.
yeah, something like that, or like here's something that was something relatively safe that was in the news. No politics, religion, as always, but just have something to kind of revolve a conversation around, so that it's not just like people. Because one thing I did notice is that people come in no matter what I'm playing. Some things people don't care for. They won't actually show up because it just like can't stand like hearing the game or looking at the game or whatever. But I think a lot of what I've noticed is that the game is just something visual to have up on the screen. So I'm trying to figure out like what else I could put on the screen that could have like a visual sort of component to it while
Mhm.
doing just more of like a conversational thing. But that's the thing that I have to talk with my advisor, which is ChatGPT for. So
Yeah, right. The unofficial
suggestions
advisor of
for
all humans in the
uh,
future.
yeah, it's got
That
from
is
now
your
on.
advice
I
again?
don't make any decisions. I just go to ChatGPT for it. But yeah, it's um, that, and I think yeah. Now with the way that Twitch is compared to where it was before, I think it's just more of more going into just like, hey, gonna start trying to do new things, because the old way of doing things isn't the way to get ahead anymore. So
Sure.
find a new way to do it.
That's good, man. Thank you. That's all
Yeah.
I have.
Perfect. Well, with that, you all, this concludes our episode 13 of the
Okay.
Law Always Wins podcast. Perr. Again, tonight we have had our guest, CalmLittleBuddy. We've delved into some very fascinating topics, ranging from breaking video games to breaking reality with AI. I would love to go further in this conversation. I would always love to go further in these conversations, but this is the time to end. So, if you all would love to come by, if you hear us now, you are invited officially to the after hours. That'll be up in the Discord main chat too. So, we'll be joining you all there very soon. Thank you all for coming by, lending us your ear, your time. We appreciate it very much. And we'll be here next Sunday as well with episode 14. Brr, brr, brr.
Bam, bam, bams.
2:45. Yeah.
Damn, Greta Times, dude.
Whoa. Amazing. Thank you, Calm.
Oh,
Dope,
no
dude.
problem.
Yeah, it was a
Nice,
super
guys.
fun conversation.
Yeah, it's
I'm-
fun.
I didn't have a lot of impact. I don't know a whole lot about this chat stuff, so I was just
Oh,
kind of
it's
intaking
insane,
information.
brother. It's
Oh,
insane.
dude, it's been hitting heavy recently. I'm
Yeah.
in my stream right now, y'all. Thank you all for
Wait,
coming by.
there's see if we could
Yeah,
raid
who
out to
is
Oh yeah,
somebody.
we're doing the raid. We're doing the raid.
Want to
My
raid
bad.
out? Okay,
Yeah,
I
if
got
you have
somebody to
somebody.
raid out to. Where do you want me to? Where do you want me to put the link?
Any
Anyone's
chat.
chat. Yeah, doesn't matter.
All right, I will. Let me see. I don't think I can post in this chat. I'll just put it in general.
Mhm.
That works.
I'm just gonna
That's
throw
fine.
it. All right.
In the Discord.
This is a guy that,
Cheeseball.
Whoa.
yeah, he doesn't get a lot of love and deserves a lot of love. Like, dude's cool.
Cheeseball.
Dude's just super cool.
Chat.
Cheeseball gaming. It's the cheeseball.
Oh, I know this person too. Great.
Yeah, he's a freaking. He's a superstar.
I think I've rated Cheeseball before.
So I
Perfect.
appreciate
All right.
everybody for coming in, man. Lots of love, y'all. Like I said, we're gonna be in main chat too. If you can hear the voice, y'all invited. We'll be rocking out for a little bit. Oh,
That's
probably get
right.
into some league games. So I don't know. Set the teams up.
All right, you all. I'm ready for this raid. You all good to go?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, here it goes. Raid now. Incredible. Stream is in. Press your in buttons, y'all. If you haven't already, don't want that streamer running without you in